Well, welcome back everyone. Sorry about that. Sometimes being out here in the wilds of Africa means that a few little gremlins that get into our technical system, and we have a few things we have to sort out of it, and we'll be able to carry on. Now, before we kind of finished off about endangered animals, and basically what I was saying is that when we think of, everybody will always think of things and leopards and these kind of things. Very few people actually think the smaller animals. So in terms of how many endangered here, we see a lot. There's a high percentage of endangered animals here in these, but the big ones are things like wild dog. Those are endangered these days, and then you've like insects and birds that are also endangered. Earlier is that we are looking for a, these guys can be really difficult to find, and so what I want to is the footprint for a leopard. This is the, or is it a hyena? And that you do by just looking at the back of the foot. So if you look on the back of the foot, this particular foot will have 1, 2, 3 lobes. So those 3 lobes, it almost makes like a W like that. So I've tried to make it a little bit more kind of pronounced. That will immediately tell you it's a cat. Now, there could be different types of cats that we see out here. So we have things like leopard and lions and caracals and wild cats and servals. So they will all have that 3 lobes. But the thing is that in this case, a lion, this would be very, very small for a lion. It would be a little cub, basically. And then you would find mom's tracks that would also be around here, which we don't see. The second thing is that a lion's track has a very angular back pad, whereas these guys, it's very rounded, and you get this kind of circular shape to the track. And so it pretty much can only be female leopard. A male leopard of this size, he would also still be with his mom, and we would find then her tracks with it. So this is a female that we know from this area. She's the dominant female, and she actually has a female cub that is about 11 months old. And both of them were in this section. Their tracks were moving around and they were playing. And so hopefully this afternoon we might get lucky and be able to find her somewhere here. So that's why I'm just driving in this area just to check. It's still very, very hot, which means that in all likelihood, you know, she's probably lying down and having a bit of a sleep, but you never know. Maybe we will get lucky and we'll be able to find her and bump into her resting in a tree or something like that. So, sorry Nikki, can you just repeat the name there? I didn't catch it nicely. Ah, okay. So, Isis, how do people stay safe on safari? Well, the best way to stay safe on safari is to have a guide with you. So somebody like myself that would be with you, and they would be able to show you what's to do, what not to do, and how to keep you protected. But essentially out here, when you in this area, is that you need to remember that even though we're very clever and we have cars and all those kind of things, when we get out on foot, most of the animals are very scared of us from many, many years of us chasing them around and hunting them and all kinds of other things. Now, at this sort of time, we don't hunt them at all, but, you know, from previous generations, they've learned that people are something that they need to fear. And so what that means is that animals have 2 responses to people. One is either to move away out and trying to increase the distance so that they stay safe. The second is to try and kind of, you know, be aggressive and try and defend themselves. And so it's important to know how animals react and how their behavior works, and that way then you can see, okay, that animal is very, very angry, we're going to try and move away from it, and that will then kind of keep you safe out here if you can read how the animals are. And you then also have to remember just to respect the animals and give them their space. It's their environment, and so you don't try and get too close and don't pressurize the animals. If you see that they're not happy, then it's always good just to leave them alone and to carry on. And so that's pretty much how you stay safe. And also, like I say, you go on a guided trip and you get, you know, go with somebody that knows what they're doing. They will be able to teach you all of these things and show you what's going on. Now, there's 2 of my favorite birds that are sitting in a tree up ahead here. So I just want to show you quickly these 2 birds. In fact, there's actually 3 of them, which is great. So they were nesting here recently, and it looks like their chick is starting to actually grow up a little bit. So I'll stop here shortly and then we'll be able to see all 3 of them. The first one that we can see is on the left hand side, is actually at the nest itself. So there's a big tree off on my left hand side that has a nest in it. You see that nest over there? Now that is an African hawk eagle. and that is the young one. So that is the little juvenile. That's the baby that was born this year, probably only about 2-3 months ago. And that's its nest that it would have been on. And so what's happening now is, as this bird is starting to grow, it's starting to learn how to fly. And so it goes from the nest, then it will try and maybe do a short little flight, and then it gets exercise and uses its wings, and eventually it will then fledge and start flying and doing its own thing. Now, to the right of where that bird is sitting on the nest is the two parents. So mom and dad are over there in that tree over there. So they're sitting, you can see them on the other side. Now, we know that those are mom and dad because you see they are a different color to the baby. When the baby is born, it's got a kind of reddish coloration to it, whereas these guys are beautiful, black head and wings and back and tail, and then this white body with these little black spots on them. They really are beautiful birds, and these guys are probably one of the most amazing hunters. The two of them together will actually hunt as a pair. So most birds of prey hunt by themselves, so male or female will go and do its own hunting, but these two, they work together. And so what normally happens is they'll fly along, and they like to hunt birds, these guys, and so they fly, and then one will go diving down into, let's say, something like a francolin or a guinea fowl, which is basically a bird that runs around on the ground. They look a bit like a quail or a partridge, and they'll come down and they spook them, and then those birds try and fly up, and as they fly up, the other one comes down and it grabs one of those, and then they go off and they'll actually feed off it together. So it's a pretty cool thing to do. Not many of the birds out here will cooperatively hunt or use each other to be able to find food. So very, very cool to see, and they are super fast birds when they fly around, and they're amazing to watch. And this morning actually we were watching them fly from one tree to another, and all the other birds out here were screaming because they know that this is a dangerous bird around, and they all try and warn each other. So very, very cool to see, and it's not often that you get to see the parents with their baby close together, so it's a very, very cool sighting. Right, now while we are sitting down here in South Africa, we're going to carry on and try and see if I can find this leopard for all of you. In the meantime though, we're going to send you back across to David in the Masai Mara, and I wonder what he's been up to since we last saw him.
Welcome back, and a lot has been happening here. Remember, initially we had 4 lions eating together, and now we only got 2. So what's happening there, that's a mother and her son eating. So the one that is on, apologies, sorry, those are the 3 there, and so the ones that are eating now, the one that is on the right is the mother on the one that is on the left. So the one on the left is a youngster, it is a boy, and the one on the right is his mother. So the other 3 most likely got full, and they stayed aside, they had a drink and rested. You can see where they are, and if you look at the grass where they are, it's much green. So that particular area, it's a little swamp, and there's some water in that area. So after eating, they came, they drank, and they just laid there. And they're there because the grass is helping to keep the heat away, number 1. And then number 2, there's the wetness on the grass, which helps to cool them. You can see one is just breathing heavily because of the heat of the day, and she has eaten so much food. The other one is asleep, and I'm trying to imagine, boys and girls, these 3 lions here could be sleeping, could be dreaming, sorry. And I would be happy, and thank you very much for letting me know the temperature. Thank you very much, boys and girls. And you notice how different it is in the temperatures between America and Africa. Oh my God, boys and girls, that's a very cold temperature. 50 degrees is too cold. I doubt if I was in Virginia, I would survive. I would have my shirt with my long sleeves, maybe gloves, maybe a hood. 50 is too cold. Anytime here when we go 60 degrees Fahrenheit, we go like this. So you can imagine here we are over 80 degrees Fahrenheit. It's quite warm. And that's why you see those lions there breathing heavily like that. That one is sleeping, legs up, can you imagine how she's enjoying her nap? And you can see the breathing in the tummy. Ryan, when a lion roars, it can do that for about 40 seconds, sometimes up to 2 minutes non-stop roaring. 40 seconds, sometimes up to 2 minutes. I hope I got your question right. And you can see the breathing as she got her legs up. If you look carefully on her belly, it doesn't have to have spots. It doesn't have to have the brown in color. It looks more pale or white. Do you see that? So it's very easy for, like the wildebeest we showed you earlier, to spot them when they are facing or they're sleeping facing upwards like that, because that white appears conspicuously to the would-be animals of prey like antelopes. But if it turns or rolls around, it will be able to blend in very well. If we say we count the ones, you see those ones there? It's very difficult for the wildebeest to see these two here. They tend to blend in very well with the grass. So boys and girls, I was thinking earlier, these two lions, or the three of them, are sleeping so deeply, and I'm sure they could be having a dream. So I'd like to ask you, what dream do you think these lions would be having, the three of them? The other two are still busy eating. So you see two on your left of your screen are eating, and the three on the right are all very snoozy, very sleepy. And tell your teachers to let me know what they could be dreaming about. Sorry, Nikki, what's more deadly than a lion? Hippo, oh, sorry, Olivia, I would say, let me see, depending, Olivia, on where you are. Sophia, depending, on where you are, it will depend on exactly what you're looking at. To me, Sophia, I would tell you, a hippo would be more deadly than a lion. But the situations will vary, but hippos are big, and they got very big teeth. So to me, I would say, Sophia, hippos are bigger or they are more deadlier than lions. So you see there's not much wind going on, but you got the two that are on the left, they're still enjoying or still eating their food. And these three here are dead asleep. And as I asked you before, just tell me, if you'd be these lions here having a snooze, what would you be dreaming of? What do you think these lions are dreaming about? Lions, we call them carnivores, and they eat meat, and the wildebeest that we saw before, they eat grass. Now we'll take you all the way again to South Africa to Taylor, and she'll give you more updates.
Now, we haven't found much. We actually left the dam. We did see where the buffalo was sleeping, because that's actually what I was looking for. But unfortunately, those buffalo were a little bit too far off the road for us to see them very nicely. They're just trying to find some shade, because, you know, it's super hot today. So they're just down there. And now, I don't know where we're going. I think we might go all the way south to a different property that has a big dam. Hopefully there's a leopard or some lions or something along those lines. I'd really like to see some elephants today. That would be my favorite. But I'm also just checking very carefully on this road for Tristan, just in case some of those leopards that he was looking for came this way. It's still there. Let's see, it's just off. Look at that little antelope. Now remember, I was telling you about some of the antelope that are really small and have very small horns. This is one of them. This is a steenbok, but this is a girl, so this one doesn't have any horns. And you saw how she ran away from us. She's very scared. Because she's so small, there's lots of things that would want to eat her. But luckily, she's got that big nose, which she can use to pick up all the different scents in the areas, the smells of leopards and lions. And then she's also got very big eyes and ears, so she can see quite well, and she can also hear. So she has got good protection. but anything can happen out here, and she has to be very, very careful. Right, wonderful to see. And it's difficult for them to hide away at this time of the year because there isn't much leaves and the grass is very short, and normally the grass in some places is taller than my head, and I'm not very short either. But very different here in summer. It's so green, super green. Okay, what else are we gonna see down here? Just check quickly. Let's make sure, because this is a road that Tandy likes to walk on. She often goes along here, but I don't see any of her tracks today. Doesn't look like she came wandering down this side. Maybe she's managed to catch something. Hunter, it's pretty easy how the animals catch their prey. They all have different specialities. So some can run really fast, others are good at hiding away and pouncing on their prey, like leopards. Wild dogs and hyenas can run for a very long time to catch their food. Cheetah, of course, use their speed. They don't have very good stamina, so that means that they can't run very fast for a long time. So it just depends on what type of animal it actually is. That would mean how they catch their prey. Some of the birds will, like some of the big owls, like a Varro's eagle owl, when it catches other birds, it just flies into the tree and knocks them straight off of the branches. At night, they don't even know what's hit them. They're just trying to sleep. And what else? Then some snakes will use their camouflage to hide away and ambush creatures as they go past. So it really just depends on what animal you're wanting to know, and what animal specifically and how it catches its food. Emma, you get lots of different types of cats in Africa, so obviously I'm sure you know of the leopards and the lions and the cheetah. Then you get some cool small cats, like things like caracal, which maybe you know of as a lynx. Then you can get a serval, which is like a small cat, it's taller than a caracal, but it's got spots like a cheetah on it, and it's got really big round ears and a short tail, so they're quite cool. And then you get the African wild cat, which looks a little bit like a domestic cat, but there are obviously some differences. So yeah, so there's lots and lots of different types of cats. A lot of them are so small, people don't even know about them, and they're also very shy, so you don't get to see them very often. But where David is, David's got a very good chance of finding something like a serval. There are lots and lots of servals down there. Right, but David is not with a small cat, he's with the big lions, which is the biggest cat we have in Africa.
Now, very good for Taylor to talk about the cats that we got in Africa. So, boys and girls, of all the cats Taylor was talking about, the one that you have on your screen, which is the lion, and you remember I told you earlier in our local language here, we call the lion Simba. This is the biggest of them all. This is the biggest of them all. And one very special thing about the lions, they always go in a group. So, and that's why I told you a group of lions is called a pride. You may see one or two once in a while, but in general, lions go in a group. And because we love the animals here so much, we tend to follow them, and we even give them names. So this particular group of lions here, or this particular pride, and you can see her, she is licking herself now because she has been eating a lot of meat, and what she's doing, she's just cleaning her feet. So when they bring down, say, a zebra or a wildebeest, because of what is left on their paws, that's what she's cleaning herself. And just like the cats you see back home, you have always seen cats or even dogs cleaning themselves. This is exactly what this lioness is doing. And this particular group of lions, as I told you before, we also call them prides. It's called the name for it is called the owinos. And I'm waiting to hear. I had asked you, boys and girls, a question. If these lions, because they were deep asleep, especially see that one. And I am being told you have sent your answers from my question through your teachers, and one school says they were having nightmares or were dreaming having nightmares about catching animals. And I would agree with you. It is true, because lions need to catch animals to survive. That is a very good answer. So she'll keep training herself until her paws become very clean. So this group of lions, as I told you, we call them the owinos because we follow them every day when we can. But it's not always a guarantee we see them. They tend to move from one area to another. But I'll tell you, lions are very territorial. And how exciting to have lions with me, because I think my friend Tristan might be having another surprise for you.
Indeed we do. It's one last little surprise before you leave us for the afternoon. So it's a big male leopard. It's not the female that we were looking for, but it is the big dominant male that we get out here. So he's very hot at the moment. You can see he's panting, just trying to get himself nice and cool. And the reason he's so hot is because he's actually killed a warthog a few days ago, and he ate himself silly. And so he's so full that he's kind of got meat pushing up on his lungs, and that's making it difficult to get food, to get air, as well as the fact that he's a little bit on the hot side, but given that it's a warm day. So he's just panting his way, trying to cool himself down. Unfortunately, though, we don't have much more time, and so I thought we'd just pop in here quickly so you could get a glimpse of my favorite animal and the most beautiful animal that we get out here in the form of a leopard. But it is that time, unfortunately, where we have to say goodbye to all of you. I hope that you have the most wonderful day at school and that you don't get too much homework, and I hope that we'll see you again on the safari with us, or even out here in Africa for real. But until then, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll see you guys another time. Right, now that the school has left us, we can say good afternoon to everybody else that's joined us this afternoon. So to our regular viewers and new viewers alike, it's a very warm welcome to sunny South Africa and also sunny Mara by the sounds of things. Pretty sure that some stage during the afternoon there will be some sort of cloud build-up in the Mara. I don't think we're going to be so lucky down here in South Africa. Now, if you have just joined us, remember that you can ask any questions that you like, and you can do that by just sending your questions through on #SafariLive on Twitter or on the YouTube chat at FC, and the FC will then send all of those questions through to us, and we'll try and answer as many as we can and try and get through as many kind of relevant questions as possible. So hopefully you'll all participate in the afternoon's activities. We at least have a big male leopard who is having a bit of a pant and is probably very hot. Poor Tingana has obviously gorged himself on warthog over the last couple of days, and that's meant that he is one hot full cat, and I suppose it's been a bit uncomfortable for him. This heat must be a little bit oppressive if you're a leopard or even any cat. I'd imagine the male lions have it a bit tougher, but really not very comfortable at all. You can see he's kind of got flies around him, he's warm, and so I think it's going to be a tough afternoon. Now, we came in here I actually thought that he'd be fast asleep. I didn't actually expect him to be awake at all. I thought Tingana would be sleepy as always, given that it's warm, and so I'm quite pleasantly surprised that he is awake. I was planning on coming here a little bit later, but obviously with the kids we wanted to show them a spotted cat. Well, I can't help myself with I need to show the younger generation the best animal that we have out here. We couldn't have lions stealing the show this afternoon, so we had to see a spotted cat here. Well, Rosalind, it depends which leopard we're talking about. So there are many different species of leopard. There's even a few, subspecies as well. And so left in the world, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. If you had to round up every single leopard species, I'm not sure how many that would total to. It's a difficult one to answer, and because also the nature of a leopard, the figures on leopards are very unreliable for the most part. So I say that because, unlike here in the Sabi Sands, where we get to see leopards like this, where we get these amazing views of a big male leopard just lying there, a few feet from us and not really worrying. Other parts of the world, leopards are very shy and elusive, and to kind of judge and to get an idea of and sample size of their population is extremely difficult. And so they use camera traps in a lot of places because the leopards don't really get seen by vehicles or people. And so I don't think the number of leopards in the world is actually known, and I'm pretty sure it's a thumbsuck if anyone has given a population estimate, but I would imagine that it would be very, very difficult to know for sure how many leopards are around. It's constantly a surprise where leopards turn up and where they end up going and how they can actually fly under the radar. There's even been leopards reportedly sighted due to them dying in parts of Johannesburg, which, nobody really would expect a leopard in a big city like that. We know in places like India, in Mumbai, there's leopards that are living on the fringes of that city, and that's a major, major city. So they can kind of go unnoticed in some places. And that means that it's very difficult to know exactly how many leopards are left in the wilds of the world. Not enough was probably the answer. They are persecuted, much like many of the big cats, and their numbers are declining in certain areas. And so, it's very nice of you, Tingana, to come and lie right out in the open. Thank you, boy. And so, I think any sort of figure given to me would not be very accurate. And hopefully, good things will be done and conservation will continue to grow and strive, and that we will have leopard environments for many, many years to come, and that these magnificent animals will continue to not decline, but to rather start, stabilizing and actually starting the populations to grow a little bit, because it would be a very, very sad day if we didn't have rosetted figures walking around in many parts of the world. I think it's, one of those charismatic animals that evokes a lot of emotion from a lot of people. Right, now Tingana is panting away. He's still awake, so I might just sit with him for a little bit. But in the meantime, let's send you back across to David up in the Mara. He's left the Wineo Pride, and I wonder now where he's going to be off to next.
Well, welcome to our regular viewers. And we were just lucky a few minutes ago with the children watching some lions that had a kill. But we want to find out the one outer wildebeest that was brought down. It must have come from this huge herd here of the wildebeest. And I'm sure you all know we are in the Mara Triangle in Kenya. And you can see this is a whole carpet of wildebeest. It's a sea of wildebeest, and it's dotted by a few zebras here and there. Migration still here with us. It came in rather late, and I got a feeling it might stay here much longer before it heads due south back to Serengeti or Ngorongoro to bring down the babies. And again, remember to all of you, this is a very interactive safari drive. So any questions you may have, any comments, please tweet, as usual, #SafariLive. That's the beauty of the wilderness of the Mara Triangle. It's the savannah, also being dotted by the torchwood trees. Most of the trees you see there are what you call torchwood. Sometimes we also call them the balanites. Temperatures must have gone considerably down to have these animals just munching the grass there. And you look carefully, they tend to go for the little shorter grass, which I bet is a little greener and maybe more nutritious than the tall grass. Notice the wind is picking up. So some of the tall grass you see there is what we call the red oat grass. Or if you like, you can also call it the Temenda triandra. We got, I would say, hundreds of thousands of the wildebeest around the Mara Triangle. I would say for another 1 month or two. Sorry, Nikki, please bring your question again. Well, Cindy, yeah, we had one lioness that I think was lost, and we just found the 5 of them together to call the Owino Pride, and at one point today we'll go by where they are, and they have all been reunited. So the whole pride is together again, and there are 5 of them together. So the wind keeps blowing, and I've always thought when the wind blows like that, we might get some rains later in the day. Definitely not now, maybe tonight. So we'll keep moving on and find out what could be having ahead of us. And this is very good country for lions. Lots of food and very good open space for them to come and hunt. When the migration move, we have always seen them moving in thousands. Paula, these trees are just wonderful here in the Mara, and there's some of the views you'll not be able to see anywhere else in the world. I'll compare, Paula, these trees, should you be lucky, you'd only maybe see them in Serengeti in Tanzania. Serengeti and the Masai Mara, Paula, are the same, same ecosystem, but they're just 2 different game reserves managed by 2 different governments. I'm going to show you a different view from up here of the same trees with all the wildebeest. How is that, Manu? Keep going. What's up there? We've got some that are just running there to the left. I do not know why they're running. Are they enjoying themselves running? And funny enough, when the wildebeest start running, when one runs, they all start and they just keep running, sometimes for no good reason, but they get very skittish. So those ones there, if you look carefully, you can only see their backs. They're walking in a line, or what you call a single file. And they'll always be all walking in different directions, in different groups. And I think Tara might be having some big bird somewhere on a nest.
We sort of do. The other day we were here. We were on Chitwa, and I thought I'd seen the African harrier hawk, the gymnogene, sitting in its nest in the Balanites tree that was created last year, but it's not. It is a Wahlberg's eagle that is now utilizing this nest, and I suppose that nest grabbing is, if you can call it that, is kind of quite common out here by the raptor birds. They'll utilize one another's nests if they're abandoned, and I suppose modify them to suit their needs. But this one is obviously incubating eggs, I would imagine. Otherwise, I don't think it would be sitting on that nest at all. So it's very nice to see. They're cool birds. And this is just the normal morph of a Wahlberg's eagle, the chocolate brown one, which is really nice. There's also a bearded woodpecker in the distance, but I can't see it. I can just hear it doing its territorial call. Anyways, that bird must be very happy now that the Balanites tree is getting a bit of leaves on it. There's some nice shelter, so it doesn't have to sit out in the sun incubating eggs all day long. At least it'll be a little bit cool. Hopefully it doesn't fly away when we go past it. I don't think it will. Okay, good, it stayed up there. That's what we want. So we popped onto Chitwa, but it's very, very quiet. I came over just to see if I could find Sibuye, but apparently she moved off with her youngster this morning, and she's gone a bit further south, so we can't go any further south than Chitwa. So she's somewhere there. They're going to go try relocate on her. So I thought we would just probably go back to Djuma. Tristan said something about he heard some elephants making noises in the Mulwati, so we're going to go find them, and then hopefully Hosana will come out at Galago Pan and start drinking, and then we can see him. Hello, waterbuck. Oh, very stinky parade here with the waterbuck, but they're crossing the road to go and have a drink of water, and I'm sure it won't be too long before Tingana does the same.
Well, we hope so. That's the plan anyway, is that I was hoping he might get up and go. He's decided to turn his back to us at the moment and give us the cold shoulder, so to speak. And so we'll have to be a little bit patient and hope that he does move. There's a hyena that's close by that's rolling around and having the best time in a little thicket here that he keeps kind of glancing at. But I'm pretty sure that, you know, today's temperature is not as extreme as yesterday, and so I'm hoping that that's going to spark him to get up and go and have water. You see he's just snarling a little bit at the hyena that's down there. You're not happy about a hyena walking towards you, Tingy? There's the hyena just kind of... For what hyena? Now, that has somewhat ruined our view of Tingana, unfortunately, but well, there might be a good thing for us. It might mean that Tingana is actually going to decide to go and have water, but either way, he's not impressed by said hyena's motives and what it's ended up doing to him, so he's now kind of gone on the other side. What we're going to do is we're just going to quickly shoot around. It's not that difficult to get around there. The problem is Wendy does not go. There we go. So Wendy just had to be put into low range before we could get her off the Tambuti and not end up that I wouldn't end, because that I wouldn't have been popular if that had been the case. Poor Wendy's had a nice 3-week holiday from being bashed around by me and making all kinds of horrible sort of
So if you got that, there's a nice look around at them, and then we can talk.
Right, so Seb is directing me here at the moment, but I'm just trying to see, because I can see where he is. You know what? Let's go all the way around. We're gonna go all the way around. It's gonna be better. I thought maybe from here it might be better because the termite mound and where he's lying, it's gonna be difficult to see from behind. But there's a little road that kind of cuts in towards the mound itself, so it will be alright from there. We just need to get round, so just have to do a little trundle over. Not as easy to get Wendy through the drainage as it is for Tingana. Ah, Debbie, you want to know what predator signs we saw in Azala? Hyenas everywhere, so you hear them all night. They're the #1 predator in that area, spotted hyena. They go after the buffalo there. That's the biggest predator for the buffalo, so quite amazing. They go and they'll basically do like they do here in clans, and they go off hunting. So you see their tracks a lot. Trying to think, did we see any leopard track? No, I don't think we saw a leopard track. I can't remember now, actually. We might have. No, we didn't. We discussed leopard tracks, but we didn't see any. Lots of civets tracks. We saw, actually what was quite cool is, I suppose civet's not really a huge predator, but there is, what we did see, talking about civets, was a palm civet, which was very cool. So they're a little bit different to the other civets that we see here, much smaller than what these civets are. Taika, you're in a bad spot, don't stay here, otherwise you're going to get yourself killed. And so that was very cool, but that was it. That was the only signs. There are other predators there, but so shy and reclusive that the chances of actually seeing them is almost zero. There's the thing called a golden cat there, which is something that I would have loved to have seen, but alas, they are really not easy to see at all. Right, let's see. So, there we go. Wild painted Jen. The female that was mating with Tingana has not been identified. No one knows who she is at the moment. Her spot patterns have been compared with pretty much all of the leopards that we would suspect it could have been. So all the leopards are like Inchila's sister, Inchila herself, the skittish female that's been seen on Buffelshoek with the cubs. All of those have Shaluva's daughter. They've all been kind of checked and sort of... what would be the word for it? Compared is basically it, and she doesn't match any of those. So the only thing that we can think of is that she must have come out of the Kruger. Just a random female that's moved into this area, maybe passing through. She's not as young as I first thought, and I looked at, in the first kind of sighting, it was just a blurred sort of picture of her mating with Tingana, but I subsequently had a look at one of the photos Taylor put up in the last few days. I think it was yesterday she put it up, or maybe even today. And that female's got quite ragged ears. She's got quite a big scar on her right side of her lip. So I'd imagine she's a little bit older than that. I actually think she probably could even be 5-6 years old. I know there used to be a female leopard seen on Torchwood, a very skittish female seen on Torchwood a bit, so maybe it's her. And it's difficult to say. The problem is that there are skittish females around on Buffelshoek, and everyone just associates that potential leopard with the cubs and that it's the same one. But in such a big area, you think about the leopards that we see here, it doesn't really fit that there would only be one female. So I suspect that there's actually two of them, and they get confused quite regularly, and maybe she's one of those. It's interesting though, yesterday evening a skittish female leopard was drinking at a pan to the north east of Buffelshoek Dam, not far from Buffelshoek Dam actually. So I wonder if it wasn't her that was drinking and starting to make her way back to her normal route. That would make sense to me. I would think that she comes out of that sort of area, that northeastern corner. Maybe, the only thing that doesn't quite work is that we know Quarantine is the dominant male around those sections on the eastern side of Torchwood, and so no one's seen him mating with her, which I would have thought she would have mated with him first and then to Tingana, but maybe, she responded to Tingana's vocalizations before Quarantine did, and she ended up with him. It's difficult to really kind of work it all out, but she's definitely not a cat that's grown up in the Sabi Sands. Her behavior and the way that she moves is not one of a relaxed leopard that's had a lot of time around vehicles. She's quite shy and a bit sort of skittish about the whole thing. So, but it'll be interesting. I mean, I wonder if we'll see her again. She might come into an easter cycle again and head in this direction to find Tingana and to try and actually mate with him once more. Right, well, Tingana is posing beautifully on top of this termite mound, so we'll sit with him a while longer, see if he's going to take us for a drink. In the meantime, let's send you back across to David in the beautiful Masai Mara.
Well done, the leopard whisperer Tristan, and for having located the Duke of Juma. Very well done. The lions you were just watching earlier, that pride is called the Owino Pride, and for about a week or so they are normally 5, and for about 1 week or so they were left to be 4. Now one of the females, that is the oldest in that pride, went away, and it was mating with a male that we call Kipuli. 6 days ago, I would say 5-6 days ago, we bumped into her mating with a different younger male and a nomadic male, a male I had never seen before, and there were 2 males. So Kipuli, the male that we know, was not very far from that area, and when we got there we found the male that we know called Kipuli that also mates with the Sausage Tree Pride, dealing with one of those 2 new nomadic males, and it gave him a chase for about 2 miles running non-stop. And that's one of the times I saw a lion male running that far. Males are big, they are heavier, stockier, but Kipuli proved me wrong to what I've always known as male lions not being very good runners. Anyhow, he came back later in the day. I'm going to stop here for a few seconds, find out what this will be want to do here, or they'll be drinking. And we went back in the afternoon. Very nice area, that part of water. And the other male that remained behind was mating with one of those females that we just saw there. And Scott this morning found that that female has reunited with its pride and hopefully she conceived, and hopefully she got pregnant, and maybe another 3 months or thereabouts from today, we might see new cubs. From here, the only thing I can hear, nee, nee, nee. Mia, I'll tell you, migration came in rather late this year, and we had all these theories. As Mia, you can see those happy campers there, and that's an indication the calf is very happy being chased by a much older wildebeest. Look at that. Well done, Manu. Oops. So, Mia, yeah, migration came in late, and as I was saying earlier, we had all these theories because we had two heavy rains. Look at that. How awesome is that? And there was a lot of food in Tanzania, so they had no reason to come here. They were scared of the rains here. But we got a feeling because they came in late, Mia, they might also take long before going back. Look at another one. I'm sure I'm going to show you the one trotting there. Look at that. I would want to turn to be a wildebeest calf right now. So, Mia, I'm not be surprised if we keep having these wildebeest here until maybe towards end of October. So the migration itself doesn't have a particular calendar that it follows. It could be a month late or two, could be a month or two early. So it keeps changing every year. And we're not surprised, but one thing is a fact, they came in quite late this year. But come the month of February, more often than not, they are always around in the eastern Serengeti, the western of Ngorongoro Conservation Area, where they'll be bringing down their babies. That's the only one time we can say they pause during the walk or the migration. World Painter, you're asking me, do I prefer the Mara to Juma for safari? That is a very good question, but I'm not going to give you an answer you might like. It depends on what could be your preference. If you love leopards, I'll say catch a plane and fly to Juma now. But if you love migration, come here. So my answer in a way would be like, divide your time. If you have enough time and, of course, right budget, do 1 week in Kenya and 1 week in Juma. That could be my best answer. And of course, it depends on your preference. What do you like seeing? Do you like seeing animals in big numbers? If you're talking of seeing animals in multitude, like in thousands, come here. If you'd like to see, say, cats and more so leopards, go to South Africa. And for that reason, we'll also go to South Africa and join Taylor.
Yes, you can go to an elephant's tusk, and you'll eventually get its whole head. Isn't it beautiful? He's a boy. He's a young elephant bull, and I actually saw him earlier today. He was down at just in the Mulwati near Twin Dams, just having a bit of a snooze under a shaded tree, and now he's very close to the vehicle, munching away on the old brown grass that's growing on the banks. I'm sorry that that's not very tasty. It can't be very nice. I wish I had some nice green grass to offer you, elephant, but unfortunately I don't. He's also a bit itchy. Shame, there must be lots and lots of insects and things bothering him. But that's all right. He's kind of using the grass as a fly swatter every now and then, and also trying to just shake off all the dust. So how crazy is that? He's even able, there's flies on his trunk and the folds of his skin, and you can see he keeps wiping them. So that's amazing. For those of you that thought elephant skin was particularly thick, thin. No, thick, sorry, and which it is thick, so I'm confusing myself. And they can't feel anything. Well, obviously we're all wrong. They've got lots of bristles covering their body. So they feel it the same way that we would feel a fly sitting on our arms with our hair, and it tickles them. I wasn't enjoying that very much. But yes, their skin is particularly thick. And I think it's essential for an animal that lives out here and that pushes and bulldozes over trees. You got to have a thick skin because, well, you don't want to get scratched. I think it must feel nice for them when they walk through the bushes. Absolutely loving it. And of course those big feet. Look at those toenails. That's cool. Look at all those cracks. Goodness, you need to moisturize. Oh, there's a bush willow pod stuck in his foot. I didn't hear anything that you said, Nikki. I'm so sorry. My voice was too loud. Sorry, Kalinda. Yes, I suppose elephants do their ears to communicate with one another and as part of their body language. They obviously even show us some very obvious signs of how they communicate when they flare their ears open, trying to make themselves look big and strong. And they'll do that to other elephants too when they're unhappy with them. So pretty much their tail, their ears, their trunk, even what they do with their feet can tell you exactly what kind of mood an elephant is. And I think that is why it is so important to learn body language of various animals, because then you can kind of understand, or at least have an idea of what they're going to be doing, what their next move could be. But of course they can also change their minds. But he's just quite happy here, just feeding away. He's really not bothered by us at all. He's a lovely elephant bull. I'm sort of trying to guess as to how old he is, because his tusk that he has is quite long, but he's very small in size. If I look at him, he looks like he's an elephant of maybe 18 years old or so. Now, Fancy Cheetah, no, he's not tuskless. He's got one tusk, but that's kind of not uncommon to see in Africa. Sometimes you even see elephants with no tusks at all. But he's just got the one, so it's just a genetic mutation. Well, that's fine. It's not a problem. He's probably more deadly with just one tusk. It's kind of like a sword now, and can quite easily jab another elephant. But he's very young. I don't think he'll be participating or bothering any of the big bulls right now. I think he's just had a hard life. He's got tattered ears. I don't think maybe he's a little bit older than 18. He could just be a small elephant. Not everybody is big and strong. I have seen some really almost look like elephants, like they were dwarfed. Yes, Teresa, they actually are. Elephants have some of the most incredible tread underneath their feet, and they're able to traverse over a variety of terrains. So the terrain obviously in the Sabi Sand is fairly easy for them to navigate on. It gets a bit sandy sometimes, it's a bit muddy, and in summer, well, the vegetation's quite thick, but they don't need to really move around on rocky surfaces or up and down steep hills. However, I'm from obviously the east coast or southeast coast of South Africa, and then those areas, it's quite mountainous, and I've watched elephants walk up and down the steepest slopes. It's incredible. And I don't know how they do it. Sometimes it's been raining and it's even slippery. You see them slip, and slide a little bit every now and then. But they honestly are absolutely amazing with the way that they can go up and down sort of steep inclines, which is amazing. But I don't think we'll be able to show you that here. David might be able to in the Mara, because the elephants also walk from the bottom of the escarpment all the way up to the top. There was that herd of elephants that lives around camp. And it's very rocky there. It's quite steep. When it rains, it becomes very muddy and slippery, and they do fine. They do perfectly. Obviously, in super rocky areas, if they were like to walk over, I'm just trying to think now, over like a bit of a riverbed or something like that, they might struggle and lose their footing every now and then, but they'll just take it easy. They'll just have to go slower than normal. VM, you know what else I've seen? Those two francolins over there, those crested francolins, are making me laugh. Now, these two crested francolins, I don't know what is in there, but they keep jumping back every now and then. There's obviously a lot of elephant. You see that? There's a lot of elephant dung. I don't know what they're doing. Oh, you see what's being kicked out? Go down to bottom right. There's something in there. No, just right below where the francolin is that's standing on the dung. Yeah. Oh, is it another one? I think it's VM, you just go to the left a little bit. Yeah, it's just in there. I think it might be another bird. What is it? Was it a scrub hare? That doesn't look like feathers. Oh, a squirrel. Yes, Nikki, that's clever. I forgot we had squirrels for a minute. It could definitely be a squirrel also just digging around there. I was trying to work out. I was actually getting distracted from the elephant because of the Franklins, the way that they were leaping into the air, and I honestly couldn't work out what was going on. But something else is having a great time. It does look a little bit like a squirrel. Probably sifting through that. Looks like very old elephant dung. Maybe they're finding some seeds or some other wonderful things. Awesome little interaction there. Right, and it seems as though Tristan's being very patient this afternoon. He's waiting for Tingana to wake up. Let's go see what he's doing.
Well, he was awake, but unfortunately now he's given us his bottom in the golden sunshine and has now passed out completely. And so we were being patient because he had his head up and he looked like he might move around. But now that he's fallen asleep, I think we're going to just go for a little bumble about and go and see what else we can find for a bit and then come back here just now. I'm pretty sure he is going to go for water. I did see his tracks have been during the course of the day to go and drink, and so I would expect him to only drink again probably maybe this evening as the sun sets. So what we'll do is we're going to just take a turn past Chiaus Dam anyway, and I just want to do a little loop on the western side in case the likes of Shidulu or Hukamuri is around, and then come back down and then come back in about, I would say, probably half an hour or so, and then we'll see how he's doing. But you know, while he had his head up, it was easy, but now that he's kind of flopped down, not ideal. Sharon, do we have news on Hosana? Not since this morning, no. He was seen this morning at Gallagher Pan by Sydney. He was stalking him in Nyalas. So I suspect, in all likelihood, he's lying in the drainage line off Gallagher Pan and probably will emerge later this evening. So he is around, he's fine. He lost his kill last night to hyenas, but he's absolutely fine. He was milling about being his usual self this morning, chasing Nyalas around, so he's okay. And seems as though he's, doing his normal thing. I wouldn't be surprised he arrives at the dam cam at some point during the evening as well. But if he is around, we'll certainly kind of try and go and have a look for him a bit later. Maybe Taylor might head in that direction. I'll probably come back to Tingana, and so won't be in that direction. But he's around and is still doing his normal thing. Good. Well, I think, like I say, let's give him Tingana a bit of a leave. Let's go and see what else we can find and see what we can get. Scott, I don't think they feel the heat more the older they get. I think it just irritates them more. And as they get older, they get a little bit more grumpy and a little bit more kind of, tired of dealing with it. So I don't think it affects them more, or that they, a logical thing. I think it's just more kind of mental thing more than anything else. But it was also, you must remember, a male leopard, when he's the age of Tingana and has got a kill, is not a very active animal at the best of times, and so probably in all likelihood, whether it is cold or hot, this is pretty much how Tingana behaves when he's got food. He's never one to really kind of get up and move around too much. So I think it's just that once they're territorially dominant, once they've got food and these kind of things, it makes them kind of spend more time relaxing and resting and conserving their energy to go and patrol and actually be able to defend their territory. Good. We're going to carry on. Like I say, while we do that, I believe Taylor is spending some time with the most entertaining of animals that we get out here.
We still have got the squirrel who's in the dung. We actually drove a whole lot closer, as you could see, and I thought they were all going to run away. The Franklins didn't stay around, but the squirrel does not seem to mind us at all. What are you eating? And I thought it would be quite cool to try and investigate to see what it's actually found itself. I mean, it could be a number of different types of seeds. It could be a whole lot of things that it's feeding on in there. And I think opening up elephant dung is probably a very clever thing to do. As you know, they don't have a very good digestive system, so there might be quite a bit of food for it in there. Probably easier searching through elephant dung than it would be trying to find fruiting trees, because there aren't too many now. It's kind of the jackalberries are coming to the end, and then the torchwood trees should also, we started seeing some now, starting to bear fruit, and then Then it's the marulas. Oh, there we go. That looks like a... What was that? Picked up something there. Can't see what it's got now. Just having a grand old time. See, look how it's digging in the dung. It's using its nose to sniff out what it wants. Pulling it apart. And I think that was obviously throwing up pieces of elephant dung earlier, and that's what was scaring the francolins. There's also quite a few little ants and other insects. I think they have the same idea as a squirrel. And you can still hear the elephant feeding in the distance. Here we go. Pull it up. Oh, got something else now. There's lots of ants there. The ants actually probably also maybe living underneath the dung. So they won't be too impressed with that squirrel. You can see it's disturbed them. Be careful, they don't bite you. Oh, wow. Daniel, you've said that squirrels are found in every continent except Antarctica. I mean, that sounds about right, unless you've got snow squirrels, which could also be really cool. Imagine them in their Ugg boots and their scarves and their gloves and things like that. I'm actually, do you want me to go forward? Let me go forward a little bit. Let's see how. This Ellie's so cool. He's so relaxed. Bye, squirrel. You have fun. Squirrel's still staying there eating. This Ellie is so chilled. Thank you, big boy. He's got to go a little bit further forwards. He'll walk up towards us. He doesn't mind us being here at all. He's very content. He doesn't even give us a side eye, which elephants normally will if you dare start your car when they're around. He's a really lovely fella. He's just, you know, he's not bothered with life. You're going to come down here now. Oh, now I'm jealous because David has found one of my favorite animals in the whole world, and they definitely were my favorite in the Mara.
And in general, the jackals... So the jackals normally will go in twos, a male and a female, and these are what we call the silver-backed jackals. And they're very good hunters. Just some like cats, we call the savocats or civets. You might see them, I mean caracos, not civets, caracos, doing some wonderful aerial hunts. They might jump and catch a bird in the air. But what I guess they're looking for now, they're looking for some either eggs or chicks of the birds that tend to nest on the ground, especially the lapwings. So they've just gone round that bush. So I'm going to move forward a little bit and see if we can catch up with them. They have slowed down. Not sure if they have seen something there they want to go for. We just move forward and see if we can catch with them again. Always very swift, especially in the grass. And when they mate and they give birth, they'll have some dance like us. And the other day we were very lucky to see some pups. And do you see them now? Want to find out where they are. They're just somewhere in the middle of this grass here. They blend in very well in the grass. Manu, hold on. But I'm sure we're going to see them and get them out of this grass, which is always exciting. Oh, they're right in front of us, Manu. They're so fast. Eh? Compare their size and the wildebeest. Nancy, I would say yes, and I would say our jackals here would be equivalent of your coyotes. I do not know where Nancy come from, but these jackals would be very related to the coyotes, but totally different family. But that's a very good question, Nancy. And look at the word you're crossing to those zebras there, and that's having like a wee or poo break. Sometimes it's very contagious when you see one doing it, the other one shortly do it. Look at the size compared to the wildebeest there, Nancy. And as they move, you'll notice that either the wildebeest will give way for them. Oops! Just in it. Come on, you can't fight that guy. Or you're just having fun, eh? This is interesting. Jackals, run for your life. Isn't that funny? Oh, the jackals are gone. They're flying low now. You zebras, I can't trust you anymore. Oh, you have scared those jackals. Oh, no. Where did the other one go? I mean, zebras are herbivores. I think they're just having fun and thinking you're just becoming a nuisance. Get out of here. But I've seen jackals chasing, you know, small little fawns or lambs or antelopes, and they have killed them. So I think the wildebeest at this point, they cannot trust them. Beautiful sky there in the background. Well done, Manu. I'm not sure we are going to have a great sunset today because there are walls of rain. If you look on the horizon there, it's the southeast. In fact, it's the actual rain in the background there. I was talking of some wind we had before, and it's kind of wind when I see it or when I smell the air, chances are it will rain, and you can see the wall of rain there, and it's heading towards where we are. But I think we are very prepared. Manu has 2 umbrellas. Man, right? So should not be a worry. So we're going to move forward.
Well, it sounds like, unfortunately, David has got a few little gremlins that are creeping in, and so you are with us now. And it sounded like an amazing sighting that he's having there of the zebras chasing around the jackals. I'm quite jealous. It's one thing that I wish we saw more of here in the Sabi Sands is jackals. They very, very cool little animals. I know Taylor absolutely loves them as well. She used to spend a lot of time with them out in the Mara, and there are quite a few that side, so it's fun to spend time with them kind of doing their thing. They generally are quite busy animals, and they can be quite fun to follow. They're ruthless little things as well. They chase all kinds of different animals and try and kill them, and so pretty efficient at what their job. But still, very cool. Lucky David for the afternoon. If only Tingana was a little bit more active like the jackals. Now, sorry, Nikki, I didn't get you very nicely. No, it's not Nikki. Sorry, Nick. I thought it was you, but it was Taylor in my ear. I forgot that it's been so long since I worked with Taylor on Juma that I forgot her voice on the side. I just heard a female voice in my ear, and I thought of one of the FC girls. It's been that long. In fact, actually, I don't think Taylor and I have worked together this year, which is quite strange. So I think the last time Taylor and I actually worked together was sometime in November last year or September last year. I don't even know. When she went to the Mara last year, when was that? August. So it's been a year since Taylor and I have worked together, I think. It's somewhere around there, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. And I actually need to ask Taylor to perform for you guys today, because Taylor has sent me a voice note yesterday, which I can't get to play, and I don't know why it's not working, because I would have just played it for you and then she wouldn't have had a choice. But she sent me a voice note about how the lions were calling on the northern side of Buffalo's Hook boundary, and she makes an amazing lion call. She really needs to do it for all of you. It was highly entertaining, and she, very talented young lady is Taylor McCurdy, so hopefully she'll oblige and she'll do the lion call. It was very funny. I was giggling for most of yesterday afternoon as I was driving around thinking about Taylor's lion call. Now, somebody was asking about a update on Hosanna. It sounds like he's just been found, but I can't hear exactly where. I can't hear. But we do have some zebras. That's what we do have in front of us. I think they said Tambuti Dam, which is on the northern side in Buffalo's Hook. Ooh. So Johnny Whitehouse, first rains depends. It changes every year, really. funny enough, Seb just asked me the same question just now, and you know, some years that I've been in the Sabi Sands, we've had rain as early as the 1st of September. Generally, though, most of the time our rain should have fallen already. We should have had our first rain already. Generally by, you know, October there's been a rain, at least one storm, which we haven't had yet. So now October is the first kind of period of rain, and then we generally go through a fairly dry period in early November. Then December it can be wet depending on the year, and then really quite a lot of rain in sort of January, February, March. Those are the worst rainy months. So we'll see. The last few years has been very different. It has not been at all like that. We've had a lot of, you know, weather issues and not much rain at all, and so it is dry. I mean, we should have theoretically seen a greening up of this area by now already. October is generally a month where we do see a bit of greening up, but for some reason no rain as yet, and still doesn't look like any rain on the horizon. I haven't seen any big dark puffy clouds building, big cumulonimbus clouds, which is what we want to see because that's the big thunderstorms that we get. So nothing yet, and I haven't seen anything coming from that southeastern side, and that's generally where our big rain comes from. The southeast comes off the Mozambique Channel, and then we get quite a lot from that side. So nothing as yet. It's still in the kind of winter winds are still blowing at this stage, and so it's still quite dry for now. But Seb tells me that we forecast rain for the weekend, so we'll see how we go. Right, now our zebras at the moment are just posing and kind of showing off just how nice they can be, and it's a very, very pretty scene, and Seb is doing a masterful job of capturing all the beauty that is around these zebras. So it's not only them kind of sitting, it's a nice angle that we're at. We've also got a beautiful kind of sky in the background. You can see today there's a bit of a wind that's blowing, and so the sky is actually quite dusty, which means it's catching a little bit more light than it normally would. It's kind of is not as sort of whitish as it would be if there wasn't so much dust in the air. All those dust particles are sort of reflecting a little bit of the sun, and it's giving a bit more of a pinky kind of orange feel to the background. It'll be beautiful in about, say, in about an hour's time, when that sun, maybe not an hour, 45 minutes time, that sun will be much lower, and you'll get this very gold light that will come through. These guys will be very cool, and nice and soft light actually is what you'll be hoping for. And maybe we'll be around, maybe we'll come and see these guys, but I'm hoping by then we'll be back with Tingana and he'll be drinking at the diminishing Treehouse Dam. I just went past there now, and it's ridiculous how dry Treehouse is. I remember being there just before leave with Hosanna and Tingana, and it really has probably halved since I was, you know, last at Treehouse Dam. So it's quite scary to think that Treehouse might dry up in the course of this winter if we don't get rain fairly soon. Isn't that cool? Look at the two of them using themselves as a little leaning kind of post. Zebras are such sociable animals. You often find that, as I say, that one's going to kick the other one in the face, isn't it? Yes. Of course, it's normally the case with animals, is that they just prove you wrong completely. I mean, sociable, loving, and then it goes and kicks them in the face. Must be brothers. That's the kind of thing brothers do. But anyway, that did not go according to plan at all. You know, zebras are zebras. That's how they are. They're feisty at times, but it's always nice to watch them kind of, and they lean their heads up on each other's backs and kind of play around. It seems that there must be something in the water that the zebras have drank today, because these two are feisty, and then we had the ones in the Mara chasing the jackals. Good, now while we watch these guys have a little bit of a sort of cuddle session, let's send you across to Taylor McCurdy so she can just show you all how good she is at making lion noises.
Nope. That's not happening, Tristan. I played the voice note for VM. What did you think, VM? Was it good? It's quite funny. Sometimes I'm hilarious, but not all the time. Anyways, Tristan brings out a horrible side of me in my humor, but get this dark humor when he's around. It's quite entertaining though. Now imagine if Tristan does his job properly and he finds Thandi and Kalamba, you'll be watching the T show, and I mean that's going to be super explosive. Can you imagine? The Tristan, Taylor, Thandi and Kalamba and Tingana 5. Wow, what a mouthful. Please Tristan, can you go and find Thandi and Kalamba pretty please, because I can't find those leopards. They avoid me on purpose. But that'd be quite cool. It has been a very long time since Tristan and I last worked together. I think they try to keep us apart because everything, well, wagons fall off of the wagons, the wheels fall off of the wagon. having a great day. I don't know why I make things so awkward for myself. It's a talent. Anyways, Hosanna, who I wanted to come looking for, is now not at Gallagher Pan anymore. He's at Tamboti Dam, so he's been walking throughout the day. And I don't know which way he went, but apparently he's there. I'm still not sure if there's actually water in Tamboti Dam. I forgot to ask Aubrey, I just saw him now. Orbs works for Juma, he's one of the safari guides. So I was hoping we'd just linger on the, we'll be a jerker lurker, as Scott likes to call hyenas that do that. Kind of just linger on the outskirts, wait on the boundary, and then see if he comes back. Because Tamboti Dam is not too far away from here, but that also means I must have my game drive radio on so I can listen. I don't know, I can't hear anybody at the moment though. I just hear the radio beeps. Hey? Was there another one? Sorry, I can't. I'm just very quickly listening to the game drive radio. Sorry, I missed that whole update. Okay. No worries, I'll try to call Lex now and find out. VM was pointing at a slender mongoose. So we've seen 2 now, hey? We're on 2. We're going to start counting how many slender mongoose sightings we have in a game drive because we see them all the time. That and then Dacre and Steenbok. Yep, Carla B, we always knew that she was that mystery leopard that Tingana was mating with. She was never ever going to stay here. This is already occupied land. She's a young leopard. She's skittish. So she's going to go back to wherever she came from, whether it be Buffelshoek or Torchwood or who knows where she actually came from. But yeah, she is long gone. And I don't think we'll see her sort of very often, okay? And I just needed to chat to Lex if I can get a gap on the radio. Lex for Taylor. Copy, wonderful. So can I come join, please? Oi! Okay. Lex says I should... I think I see him. There. It's not going to be the clearest view, but he is 12 o'clock on the dam wall. Lex, out of interest, is there any water in Tamboti Dam? Copy, thank you. Okay, there we go. Got the answer that I've been wondering for the last few weeks now. I just asked Lex, obviously, if there's water in Tamboti Dam. He says there's nothing. So he's not going to catch a drink there. He'll have to go back to either Vuyatela Pan or back to Gallagher. But I think he's just hungry and looking for food. He's just venturing out a little bit. Oh no, Tristan. Tristan's going to get me into trouble. I'm just letting you know now. I don't agree with him playing the voice note, but it's on Tristan's head, and also don't judge me, so let's go to him.
Zola, you're not going to be in trouble. We're all just going to laugh at you, and don't worry, we won't judge you too much, but it is hilariously funny, and that's why she's cringing, because she knows how funny it is. So I managed to get it to work. Now, hopefully it's going to work when I play it, so I'm going to have to hold it up to my hat, but first, before we do... Oh, no, now it's not working, but anyway, but just now it was saying connecting, but earlier you could see it said Taylor McCurdy, so I wanted to make sure you knew it was Taylor, but I'm going to play it for you guys, so you have to kind of press it as I keep quiet, because otherwise it's quite quick.
And they're making noises like, ah, in the distance.
So that is Taylor McCurdy's. Apparently that's what lions make a noise. So if she was hearing that in the distance, then I'm quite impressed, one, with her hearing, and two, I think we need to worry about our Inkuhuma pride, if that's how they're calling, because they really have a bit of an issue. But hopefully you heard all of that. And it wasn't as bad as Taylor was making it out to be, but I certainly giggled yesterday because I didn't expect her to make that sound at all. And hopefully she's going to be fine. I didn't play the whole thing, so the rest of it was her just talking nonsense about the lions going up and down from Buffelshoek into Manyaleti and back and forth. Now, just now when we were driving along, our zebras had a moment of absolute craziness where they went running around like hooligans and created dust everywhere. They decided to kind of slow down, and that's probably because this one is a very heavily pregnant female. You can see how her sides are bulging at the moment, so both sides are kind of sticking out, and so she should be foaling soon, I would imagine. Not too long now. Look at that. She's as wide as she is tall at the moment, so she's going to be fairly heavy set. That's maybe why she's taking it easy, but the ones in the background are the ones that we're running. Look at that. Isn't that amazing how much that belly is swollen? It almost looks a bit abnormal, doesn't it? It looks like you've taken one zebra and turned it sideways and kind of tucked it under her legs. That's kind of how it looks. And you can see her breathing as well. So it must be very uncomfortable. Big swollen tummy like that. Hot weather. She must be feeling a little bit on the sort of, I would say, tired side. Especially given that there's not great grazing around at the moment. So take care. No, they don't kick with their front legs, but they can stamp. So they can kind of push their front legs down and kind of stamp down. Not that they do that very much. You generally find the reason why they don't is because that exposes their neck and head areas to predators. They'd far rather try and kick and try and keep their sort of vulnerable areas like the chest and the neck area away from any potential threat that might come their way. So better to kick with the back legs. Also much more power in the back legs. As much as they can rear up and stamp down, the amount of power that they have if they push their legs backwards is far more, and so they can get much more out of it if they kick with the hind legs than if they go with the front legs. But isn't that a beautiful picture? Nice to see zebras on Djuma. I actually was wondering today, funny enough, I was walking around quarantine with Steph, and I was wondering where our wildebeest herd has been. I wonder where they've been seen, or if they were chased or something like that while I was away. Anyway, good. We're going to probably carry on, see what else we can find, start heading back towards Tingana. It's now happy hour at Treehouse Dam for Tingana, and so we're going to head in that direction. In the meantime, let's send you across to David, who's got a feathered friend.
Migration brings it, or comes lots of dynamics, and the vultures, I'm sure they really celebrate or enjoy, or they always say they have a party season when the migration is around, because the cats will bring down as many wildebeest or zebras as possible, so long as the masses of these animals remain around, and they'll be on top of trees just looking where there could be a possibility of a kill or an animal to go and scavenge. And that is Rupert's griffon vulture. She is not alone, and you always notice there could be spread a few. She is there, others could be in a different tree. The torchwood trees, which are very solid and strong trees. Once in a while they've been known to make their nests up there. And if you look at them closely, you notice the head and going back, the head and the neck, they are very bare. They got no feathers on them. They're bald. And for the one obvious good reason, to make sure they don't get very bloody or very fleshy. I'm not sure what I'm talking about, but that makes sure they don't get so much blood on their head, which could not be very good for them. As much as I doubt that blood or flesh be of any harm to them. Is it time for pub break, or do you want to reposition yourself? 7 types of vultures in Kenya. This one flies very high. Of all the vultures you know, of all the birds you know, this is the highest flying vulture in the world, and they've been known to do over 35,000 feet above sea level. What are you looking at? Always go in flocks and big groups. All the 6 types go in groups, but there's one particular one that's got the lappet-faced vulture that will always go in twos. But this one's, excuse me, and the rest will always tend to go in big flocks. I'll be trying to get a picture of the vultures as Manu is just showing you the beauty of that. And that's the all-round escarpment in the background there. Awesome, Andrew. That's a very interesting question, and I will think. Let me see. I might answer straight off my head, and I'll tell you. The wildebeest, to me, have the biggest population. The animals I've seen in big masses together, I would say the wildebeest definitely not lions. And I'm saying in a particular area like where we are in the Mara, not cheetahs, not leopards, not any other type of antelopes. I would say the wildebeest, there could be over 1 million and maybe more, especially during the migration. What happens even after migration, not all of them that will move. There are some that will always stay behind and don't migrate. So when you put them all together, I would say the wildebeest are in their thousands, I would say 1 million plus. Alrighty, so Manny, when you get a chance, I'll request you to sing over my head. Eddie, I would say the vultures in Europe are very different from what we have here. And Eddie, I'll show you closely if you look on my book. This one here, number 5B. See that number 5? That's exactly what we were watching just a few seconds ago. And we got like 7 types of what we call true vultures. Well done, man, for that lighting in Kenya. And number 8 down there, man, you can see that. I was saying that most of these vultures here will always fly together in big flocks, in big groups. But the one down there that we call the Nubian vulture or the lappet-faced vulture, in general, you'll always see them in twos. And it's very different from the rest because it got a characteristic like red skin, and that's why it's called the lappet-faced. And the rest have very different heads. So these ones will always fly in twos, and you'll always see a male and a female. And even when they feed or when they're patched up, it'll be, 2 male and female. The rest you'll see them like in a few, say 10s or 20s. But there's one very special one at the very top left there that I would say is not extinct, but I don't remember the last one I saw this vulture here, or it's not a true vulture per se. It's called the lammergeier, or sometimes they have called them the bearded vulture. And very good, that's the name there, lammergeier. I'm not sure that's French or where it came from. And not as many left. I haven't seen one in the Mara. There's an area near my village that I come from called Lake Nevasha. That's the last pair I saw there, and I would say that was 10, 12 years ago, where I saw the lammergeier, but not as they used to appear before, and I have no idea what they could be suffering from. And yeah, I mean, not as many as they would want to see them, but they're very beautiful. And when you see a fully grown, you'd see all like the feathers or whiskers hanging right below there, and that's why sometimes we'll call them the lammergeier. Maybe not considered as a vulture. If you look here, we've got about 8 different birds on this page here, but the lammergeier, we will not call them true vultures, but it has been grouped always together with the vultures. The rest of them are the Egyptian vulture. I think Brent saw one the other day, the hooded vulture, permanent vulture, and African white-backed vulture. I would say in the Mara, the African white-backed vulture is the most common one, and this is the one here. It's number 6. In any kill or any scavenging or any cleaning going on in any part of East Africa, Kenya or Tanzania, the most number of vultures you'll see will be these ones here, and those are the African white-backed vultures. Alrighty, thank you, Manu. We may move as we see the rain coming. Hope it doesn't get us. The area I am in now is one area. I've seen the sausage trip right once in a while, and I'm just crossing fingers, sorry Manu, getting a bit bumpy there, that we'll be able to see them. I was just seeing a vulture flying there, and Manu, I've always known you're good in catching these birds in flight. Very good. You've never let me down on anything on flight, including planes. Good job. Excellent. So patched up there, not necessarily because there could be a kill anywhere, because if you look below them, we've got so many wildebeests, meaning there are no cats or any lions around that area. But maybe they might spend the night there, who knows? Those ones disagreed, I don't know why. You have to go to look for another home for the night, and that again Is it Rupert's griffon vulture? That's my guess. You have a new home? Yes. I do not know why the other one did not like you. Well, that you might stay there. You could be lonely, and hopefully you might get another vulture coming to join you for the night. Alrighty, well, we need to go. This rain doesn't catch up with us, and before darkness becomes darkness, we might be lucky to see the Society Pride. Okay. Keep going, Kito. Move, Kito. So now we're just enjoying the views of the wilderness, of the savannah of the Masai Mara. Excellent. All credit goes to Manu, and I've always thought once in a while, when he is in his best spirit, he is a wizard on the camera. And to catch a bird in flight, it's pretty special. I would want to believe so. And maybe when I don't guide one day, I'll want us to swap places. Man to come here and I'll go hold the camera. But in the meantime, let's go to Tristan and find out the latest from him.
Well, David, I want to know who you want to swap places with. Which cameraman you want to be putting in the hot seat and make them be a presenter. It'd be interesting to hear which one he wants. I think all the cam ops in Mara are such good guys that I think it'd be quite entertaining to have any of them on camera. Now, we're coming slowly back towards Tingana. I was going to go to Treehouse Dam and just have a little scratch around there first, but there was a little warthog that was going towards Treehouse Dam that looked very thirsty, and so I didn't want to chase it away because otherwise it would have had a tough time. There's not really much other water, well, no, there's really no water on this western side, so I thought I'd just kind of bypass and let the warthog drink before it either gets interrupted by Tingana or and just runs away and doesn't get any water at all, which would have been not very nice. Most of the other animals wouldn't mind, but you know, sometimes you find these warthogs, they get a little shy, so Tingana's not where we left him, of course not. Hyenas are sleeping there. Tingy, where are you? Did you go for water on the other road? Maybe he did, he might have walked on the other road. And there's two roads that run parallel on the drainage. He's definitely moved from his last spot that we had him. Oh, that warthog smells delightful as well. No, he's in the tree. Okay, and let's go to the other side. Seb. He's going to be... Of course he's in his tree now. So we're going to have to go all the way around now to go and get to him. It's no wonder it's smelling. It's because he's moving it and opening it out, which generally makes things smell a little bit worse. So hopefully it won't be too bad from the other side. It didn't smell bad from the other side earlier because the wind was blowing kind of a different direction, blowing towards where we are now. So I'll be quite happy to actually park on that side. And so while we get around, let's send you across to Taylor McCurdy, who sounds like she's found some interesting tracks that she is following up on.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I was like, what are you talking about, Tristan? So what basically happened was we just saw some lion tracks, and there's two male lions that have been walking around. No one knows or has seen the lions that have been walking around, but they've been leaving footprints. Now, apparently the evoker males, the three younger, older boys, because they're not quite as young as the Nkuhuma male and his friend, but they're also still fairly young. Anyways, they're with a lioness. I'm assuming that lioness is Amber Eyes because she hasn't been seen with the Nkuhuma pride, but she's a part of that pride. So they're up north. I wonder if the evokers didn't perhaps chase around those younger Nkuhuma, well, one Nkuhuma / Telemati boy. Let's go this way quickly. And up this road just to check one more time. You never know, the wild dogs like to sit on here sometimes. We've seen them here on a number of different occasions. Just some hyena tracks, no dog tracks. And then I don't really know what we're going to do. Hosanna disappeared over the damn wall, by the way. Maybe he'll come back. Gremlins, I would imagine that the way that the male lions know which cubs are theirs and which isn't is that if they've mated with the specific females, I'm sure they'll remember their scent, and they obviously know the prides that are within their territory. If they've got young cubs and they've mated with them, they're not going to kill them. If they come across some lionesses that they've never encountered before and they have young cubs, they know they didn't mate with them, so they're going to kill them. So that's, I'm pretty sure that's as simple as it works. Obviously it takes a bit of time when new males come into an area to try and gain the respect from the lionesses, so it takes a bit of time. It's not a quick process, you know, the old boys don't get booted out and then they just accept the new ones. It can take weeks and weeks and sometimes even months for them to fully accept them, but eventually they do if they want to stay alive. I'm trying to see if this crested barbet is going to sit still, but I don't think it will. It's not the accommodating kind. Don't you fly. Just stay there nicely so we can look at you. Beautiful. Yep. Now stay on that branch, please. I like the way that it's got its crest up this afternoon. Very striking birds with a yellow, white, black and red plumage. I do like their little red rump that they have. Very easy to identify. There's kind of not really anything else that looks like them out there. That big beak, and then of course all those colors too. Nice to see. Although you get the black-collared barbet, which has got a reddish sort of head, and then quite a prominent black collar around it. But it doesn't have those vibrant colors as the crested barbet. And they've got two completely different calls as well. The crested barbet is that sort of chee-chee-chee. Oh, no, actually I don't know how to sounds like a frog. And then the other one goes I didn't get that, but I think it was from James, and was it about when are we going to start seeing the cuckoos? Ah, there you go. I missed the vital part there. Anyways, so you know what I heard on the Game Drive radio the other day when I was in the East, the one time that I got radio comms, somebody said there was a Jacobin cuckoo out. So I think maybe a couple of them are starting to arrive, but isn't it sort of more towards October? Also, somewhere around there, I'll keep an eye and an ear out. I'm listening for the black cuckoo shrikes at the moment, but I haven't heard any of them just yet either. I like the black cuckoo shrikes, they're really cool. The males are so pretty. And so they should start arriving soon, but I haven't heard any yet. I haven't heard, well, I suppose the prominent sounds of the bush are still the orange-breasted bush shrikes and the grey-headed bush shrikes. But once the cuckoos start arriving, they definitely do take over. Just having a look. Just checking that I didn't miss anything around here. I think we'll go down Aubrey's on tele-access, and then I'm kind of listening to the Game Drive radio, waiting for them to tell me that Hosanna is coming back to the south, and then we'll try and follow up on him. But in the meantime, we're going to linger in this area. We're just going to go around and round and round and round. That's the plan. I'm not sure where Hosanna is going now. We get hold of Aubrey because he's in that sighting. Let's go and see if David has found the sausages yet.
Well, you have to look much harder, Taylor, and I'm sure something going to work out. And I was asking Manu whether today we'll have our usual wonderful sunset. I'm not sure what to make of that. I don't know what you viewers you think, but I'm still convinced we have some beautiful sun drop here. With all the different colors in the background there, and the clouds still building up, an indication of rains to come very soon. Not sure when, but definitely the short rains are not far. I thought I'm going to pause and keep quiet for 10-15 seconds as I try to absorb that beauty. Excellent. And Nick in the final control says yes. That's pretty awesome. And the only thing I can hear are frogs now coming up. Most of the larks are signing out. Larks are types of birds signing out. any birds that you get on the grass, like the sticolas also, slowing down because of the darkness. And the night takeovers will be coming in. Look at the different color of the sky there, unlike where we were before. And all that is an extension of the Olololo escarpment. Anybody who watched the movie Out of Africa could have a glimpse of that magnificent view of the Olololo escarpment. And the escarpment from the background always reminds me of the Drakensberg Mountains that I could see from Juma. You know, the tortured trees and different horizon. I don't know where the animals are from here, but I can hear from a distance, oh, the wildebeest going, Anna Marie, always a pleasure to hear your name. How far can I see to the horizon? I mean, I think my eyes are very good. I've always compared I've always looked at my senses, all my senses, and I thought sight is a good sense of mine. I don't know to the horizon how far it could be, but I can say, Anna Marie, I can comfortably see anything 10 to 15 kilometers from where I am. 10 to 15 kilometers could be what? Talking about almost 10 miles, 9 miles or so? Yeah, 8, 9 miles comfortably from where I am. But actually, this doesn't seem like a horizon because there's that backdrop there of the Olololo escarpment, Anna Marie. And at that point, it's sure that's where the sun is going down, and you can tell the differences in color. I'll be asking Nick in the final control to keep an eye on the sunset today from Juma against what I'm doing now, because every time I've requested a poll from you viewers, I have lost. I don't know what day I'm going to win. I'm not sure it's me or is it Manu or is it both of us. But when it comes to Manu, I just respect him for his camera work. But again, we don't have much control on the sunset. But depending on where you are, of course, in the world, the sunset is different. And even here in Juma, we see different sunsets. Lots of joy here, of the peacefulness, of the quietness. Romet, again, always a pleasure to hear your name, but I tell you, the best times near the escarpment are the morning. Anything between 6:15, 6:45 East African time, Romet, are the best time, because what happens when you're driving down, especially from the camp we are in, when you're driving down, you always see the sunrise on your left, and then when you look on the right, you'll see how the sun rays are hitting the escarpment, and if there's anything on that basin, if there'll be any animals, and most of the elephants, Romet, you can stay there glued to that view for a whole 40 or 30 minutes non-stop. So I would say 6:15, 6:45, Romet, is the best time to be by that escarpment that we call the Olololo escarpment. Excellent, Manu. I would be more than happy to enjoy these views every day of my life, and they give you a very peaceful evening. And we're gonna move on, and my friend Tristan in South Africa has maybe the cat again on top of a tree.
I do indeed, David. We are very lucky in that we have a cat in a tree that is as, well, epic as you could ever ask for at sunset. So Tingana is up there, precariously balanced, I might add, as well as his warthog. In fact, I actually think if he's not careful and he doesn't keep his paw on that head of the warthog, it's going to drop down, and there's going to be two very happy hyena that are going to be just underneath there waiting for that carcass to drop. He's gone from having it perfectly kind of balanced over the branch to now literally the whole thing hanging off bar the head. And one more jolt and I reckon it's going to go crashing to the ground, and that's going to be the end of his little warthog meal. So Tingana, be careful. You're going to have to keep your paw on its head if you are to try and kind of keep it. Now, we are parked quite far away, and there was a reason for it, is that if we got a bit closer, I was imagining that we would probably have to see through all of those branches. So we parked quite a long way, as you can see, and it's just so that we can have a nice clear view of his head and his body while he feeds, rather than being underneath there and having branches all over his face. So you might see it would be a bit difficult for Seb to get too close into what's going on, but you know, we try and do the best we can. Anyway, he's tucking into around this sort of the neck and shoulder area, and I suppose there's still a lot of meat there. I'm actually very surprised with how much meat is still on this carcass, given that he's had it for 2 days now. So I believe it wasn't killed yesterday morning, it was the morning before, and so I mean that's a long time for this carcass to have been there. Tingana, you seem like you're getting into more of a mess than actually sorting it out. What are you doing? This is not exactly a graceful display, is it? Now, normally leopards are very graceful when they kind of hang carcasses and move around in trees, but this afternoon Tingana is not showing grace at all. But you can see that meat is not exactly healthy anymore. It's swollen and it's kind of expanding, so it must be fairly rotten after the heat that we've had over the last 2 days. That can't be very pleasant at all. But if you're a leopard, I suppose that's, well, good tasty food, and then he's going to kind of hoover that down, and he'll eat around those cheek areas. One thing about a warthog, though, is that it looks like a lot of meat there, but actually there's not that much. Their skull is quite big and dense, and so you might find that he's not going to be able to actually have that much food in that area. So there's still enough to feed for probably tomorrow, but it's not as much as I think we first thought. It's mostly just its head. So, Teresa, we don't know exactly, unfortunately. We don't know, where he was born or what his age is exactly. We surmise and we go according to various physiological features that we've seen on him. And so we think that he's roughly around 12 years old. He could be a little bit younger. He could be about 11 or slightly older, but I don't think so. When we first started to see him, he was a lot smaller than what he is now. His ears were pretty intact. He didn't have a massive dewlap just yet, and so he must have been around sort of 4. We guessed 4 or 5 years old when he first arrived, and that would then make him 11, 12 now. So that's where we kind of reckon he is at. And it really is amazing to think, actually, that when I remember seeing him for the first time, how shy and how he just did not want to do. Well, did not want to know vehicles at all. I remember seeing him on Elephant Plains' airstrip for the very first time. And he lay there in this little patch of grass because he was hunting impalas, and we then spotted him, and he was very upset by this, and he lay there with his ears flat and his eyes just staring at us through this grass and into the night. And only once the night kind of rolled in did he start to every now and then lift his head up and start to show he was relaxing a little bit. But subsequently after that, we started to see him more and more and more, obviously, and it was always a struggle to try and find him. He used to run away from the cars. He used to be very difficult, and I can't remember what the kind of breaking point was. I think he might have been mating with Salahesh. Might have been the first time where he really kind of got followed for 3-4 days straight. And then he started from there being okay, and a few kills and carcasses later. At that stage, he was starting to kill quite big animals. He used to often target things like wildebeest, kudu, nyala, and so we used to find him on these big carcasses, and his love for food and his sausaging ability outweighed his kind of fear of the cars, and so that's where it kind of started, and eventually now he's at this most relaxed leopard that you can imagine. And so it just goes to show that it is possible even when it's an older individual. And so that skittish female that we saw, she could theoretically become relaxed if time was spent with her. The thing is, though, is I've very seldom seen skittish females become relaxed. It's generally the males that are more relaxed, and it's because the likes of relaxed females that they mate with, and the males generally bring down big carcasses, that they kind of tend to relax a lot easier than, as well as the fact that they get dominant in an area, and that kind of gives them a bit of confidence. Whereas females, when they're skittish, it's very seldom that you get them to actually come right and to be a little bit more sort of calm around vehicles. Although it is possible, it just takes a little bit more effort than with the males itself. But wouldn't it be nice if we could relax that female at some point, especially if she's spending time in that northeastern corner of Djuma. So Pradeep, who's 6 years old, why do some animals travel at night? Well, Pradeep, there's various reasons for various animals traveling at night. Most of it, though, is that it's a time when certain animals have an advantage, and so basically, like a leopard or a lion or an owl, their eyesight is very good at night, and they're able to see a lot better than the animals that they're hunting. And so you find most of the animals that move around at night generally are predators, and the reason is that they can move around. It's under the cover of darkness, so they're far more camouflaged. It's very difficult for the prey animals to see them, and they can then get much closer and be able to hunt and find the food a little bit easier. And so that's why they move around quite a bit at night. So it's a very clever thing for predators to do. Some of the other animals that move around, like things like porcupines that are not predators, for them, the way that they are colored and the way that they kind of like to go about things, they would be easily caught by other animals during the day. Because they're a little bit slower moving, it would be easy for animals to spot them and then go after them. So they come out in the darkness to be able to stay away from predators. So even though some predators hunt at night, porcupines come out because they know that they can camouflage quite well at night, and they can move around fairly undetected, as opposed to during the day where birds of prey can spot them and various other things as well. So that's why most of the animals move around at night, is generally because it suits their lifestyle and the way that they like to go find food. It also means that they can hide away a little bit better, and their eyesight and their senses, so their hearing, their noses, their eyes, are all adapted and designed to basically, or evolved to be able to survive in those darker conditions, so they can see very well, hear very well, smell, and that's why they move around at night. Tingana is really feasting at the moment. He's guzzling down big chunks. So what I think is going to happen here is he's going to eat quite a bit. He's going to probably fill up that belly even more, and then I think he'll plop down, and then we've got a 50-50 chance of him striding off for water. Often they do, after a bit of a feed, go and have some water, or he's going to end up just going and flopping down somewhere at the bottom. It depends how the hyenas react to him coming down the tree, and it depends on how much food he actually feels like guzzling down. If he fills his tummy too much, we might not see him go for water. So Dina K, the first time I saw Tingana was in 2011, I think was the first time. 2011, yep. So that is what, 7 years of knowing Tingana, which is a fair amount of time, really. So it's quite surreal actually to think that I watched a leopard kind of do 7 years of its life, which is more than it's more than half of its lifespan. You've kind of spent time with it, which is very, very cool, and particularly a leopard like Tingana. So yeah, I've been very fortunate. Tandi, I've known her for longer. The first time I saw Tandi was in 2010. So she's almost 8 years of seeing Tandi. So there's a few leopards that are around that I spent a lot of time with. Shadow was obviously one of them. Karula also was, those were all in 2010. It was the first time. So Nikki was saying that the other day that James posted a picture of Tingana hiding in the bushes. Was it one at night, Nikki? If it was the one at night, then that was the first time I ever saw Tingana. So it was in 2011. Yes, at night. So that's the first sighting I ever had. That's exactly what I was talking about on the Elephant Plains airstrip. But yes, there was a picture of him kind of hiding out in the spotlight. And so, that was quite a while ago. It feels like a long time ago, and amazing how far Tingana came from there. At that point he was not even, we didn't think he'd stay around at all, because we had Mufufenyan, Tyson that were around, and a male by the name of Imsachwen, which is believed to be Anderson's dad, and there was really not much space for another new male, and actually, funny enough, Lamula was just starting to push in at that stage as well. So they must have been after Imsachwen, because Imsachwen disappeared and then Lamula arrived. So it was around that time, and there really wasn't too much space, but somehow Tyson ended up moving southwards towards the Sand River, and he kind of squeezed his way in and ended up staying and became the dominant male around Simambili and Elephant Plains. And then it's been interesting to watch his progression from there, and how he's kind of expanded a huge territory and then slowly got pushed from the western side. So as Anderson started to come in, so Tingana started to move, and Mvula got squeezed north, and then, you know, we had Tingana who used to roam a long distance. I remember when I first started at Simbambili, it was not uncommon to see Tingana all the way at Nkoro. So I used to go and drink there and go into Torchwood quite a bit, and then you'd come all the way back and you'd find him just on the Elephant Plain, Simbambili, Arathusa kind of cutline area. So he used to come to Simbambili Dam regularly, not quite to the lodge. He used to kind of stop not too far from the lodge, but he didn't really come that far very often. And now you think he very seldom is off Djuma. He spends 90, I would say it's probably 80% of his time in the last 4 months has been on Djuma or thereabouts. And so it's interesting how his kind of territories have shifted and changed. What surprises me with Tingana is that in all of this, he very seldom went southwards towards Hofmans, which seemed to be a prime area for him. And I was very surprised that he didn't spend time there when Mofofanyana was around, and even in Mvula, Hofmans was both of them used to spend massive amounts of time in that area, and used to kind of go into nice drainage lines there. It's perfect habitat for a leopard as well. So surprised that Tingana didn't spend that much time. He used to like Little Gowrie more, and obviously Chitwa, and then come up this side. So it's been very cool to kind of spend that much time. Anyway, while we gaze upon Tingana feeding off his warthog, let's send you back across to David, who's just bumbling about in the beautiful Mara.
Well, Tristan, I like calling you the leopard whisperer. I don't remember the last time you did 2 or 3 drives straight without spotting a leopard. Not sure I finished my story of Kipuli, the male lion I was talking about before, where he encountered 2 males. This was about 5-6 days ago, and the story came from the pride we were watching earlier called the Owino Pride. So after he saw the first nomadic male in the morning, we went back to camp, we had brunch, and both me and Manu thought to go back to the same place we left Kipuli, because there was another younger nomadic male mating with one of the females we saw today in that Owino Pride. We go back, and I think Kipuli was about 100 meters away from this mating nomadic male that was mating with this one female from the Owino Pride. About 4 or 5 o'clock, I think it was time for Kipuli to make a decision that this is my area, I'm in charge here, you are new here, there's no way you're gonna come and even mate in my home turf. So Kipuli woke up, we're just watching, and we had the dramatic view for it wasn't for long, but it's one of the biggest battles I've seen for lions. But as much as Kipuli won the fight, he was left with a very huge scar on the right eye. It was, he was left bleeding on the right eye. But he won the battle, and this other youngster or other nomadic male took off and disappeared. So I'm surprised that mating was not for long, because Scott saw the other lioness that was mating this morning. It has rejoined the Owino Pride. So I think that was 4, 5, 6 days of mating period with Kipuli. This one area, as I said earlier, the Sausage Tree Pride will hang around here, and not sure whether to give up. And if I do, tomorrow will be another day, and I'll be more than happy to come back here. Awesome, Andrew, I would say these are 2 predators that their only commonality, they will hunt for their food, but it's very unusual for them to fight for territory. What we'll see fighting for territories, say if 2 clans of hyenas meet, there could be a possibility. If 2 prides of lions meet, there could be a conflict there. And if 2 coalition of lions meet, there could be a conflict there, and you'll fight. But to see lions and hyenas fighting over territory is unusual. What would happen is they fight over kills, and more often than not, it's the lions that will make the kill, and then the hyenas normally gang up, Andrew, and they snatch the kill from the lions. That happens many times. And also occasionally, if lions find maybe 1 or 2 hyenas with a kill, and there are 4 or 5 lioness or pride of lions like the Owino pride or the Ololo pride that consists of about 14, 16 lions, they can intimidate the hyenas and go for their kill. But in general, 2 species do not fight over territory. We could see an area of, say, 40, 50 square kilometers with a particular pride of lion that lives there. And you could also see a leopard, for example, in the same area. So these are 2 predators, 2 different species, but they live in the same area. Issues come when we have 2 competitors or 2 animals of the same species in the same area. That time they go for each other. I'm just hoping to see anything on the road as it has gotten dark. And I'm sure Taylor might be having something for us.
I am having something for you. It's some guinea fowl. But they're very far away now. They were quite close to the car. They were all just feeding in the last light. All the short grass. I still don't know what they're eating at the moment. It's pretty miserable for them. There aren't lots of insects around. Although they need to kind of behave like the francolins and the squirrels were today, where they were digging through all the elephant dung. I think they'll get something there, but they're going to peck away anyways and try their best. I don't think it'll be too long before they maybe head down towards Vuyatela Dam, so keep an eye out. Those guinea fowl might come and have a drink, or they're just going to find a tree to roost. So it sounds like Hosanna is having a great afternoon. He's still going north. I hope he doesn't go there for too long when he decides to come back, because that kind of ruined our plans now for what we were going to do. And then I did hear that the buffalo also crossed out. They've gone back into Buffalo's Hook now. There's just Tinga Banana. We drove a little bit in the west. I think we'll do some more. I think we're going to go along all the way down Philemon's Katla. We're going to go Mendoza Road. I haven't checked the western corner properly. We briefly had a look around Impala Plains, but very quiet. Very, very quiet. I'm just checking across towards the dam. It's very open. There's nothing there. You can quite easily see in between the trees now. But nothing. No, it's not dark enough yet. Camora? I'm trying to think if I've seen... No, I don't think so. I can't remember anything in specific. Let's look at these. Let's go for the Impala while we just quickly stop and have a look. Hello, guys and girls. You know, I don't think it's particularly common to see cheetah and leopard interacting. I suppose it's the same thing with like lions and stuff like that. They just come across one another. The cheetah are going to try their absolute best to keep away from the hyenas, to literally keep away from every other predator. They're not interested in seeing them because they know that they run the risk of, well, firstly, losing their lives, or if they've got a kill, the potential of losing their kill is so high. I'm just listening to the Impala ram. He's snorting about and chasing the herds around. So it's quite a big group of animals here. I don't think it's just one herd. I think it's quite a few females, quite a few boys, a big bachelor herd just lingering around here. Okay. Let's go to the west and find out what's happening down there. Right, off you go back to Tristan, who must have a sore neck now because he's staring up at Tingana.
I actually don't, Taylor. I'm very happy where I am. I can comfortably sit and watch Tingana because we are not parked at an extreme angle at all. It's actually quite pleasant where we are here, so thoroughly enjoying myself. It's very quiet this evening, just other than the crunching of Tingana on the bones. Not too many other sounds, so it's peaceful and quite beautiful, to be honest. And I was just thinking now about cheetah and leopard, and trying to think if I've had any sightings of them, and I can only recall twice, I think, that I've had, twice that I've had a sighting. I actually had an insane sighting once on Nkoro. We were there, it was winter, and there had been dogs that had killed an impala, and Mvula ran in and stole the kill from the dogs, and then from there we had lions arrive at the sighting, and in the distance the then 4 cheetah brothers walked past. So we had wild dogs, leopard, lion, and the 4 cheetah brothers in the same sighting. The cheetah didn't get chased by any of them, though. They kind of saw from a distance what was going on and they moved. And Mvula and the dogs were the ones that ended up getting chased in the end by the lions, and that then attracted the hyenas. But by the time the hyenas had got there, the dogs had left, and so had the leopard. But it would have been amazing if we'd had the hyena involved with all of them as well. But it was all the apex predators in one sighting, which is quite something. Doubt that I'll ever get that again. And then we had also, I'm just trying to think, oh yes, the other one I had was the female cheetah and a cub that we used to see in 2011 on Chitwa, Arathusa, Little Gowrie, Hoffmans. She used to be a lot on Chitwa airstrip, and she had a run-in with Intima, a female leopard, and Intima chased her, and she kind of ran off and ended up going down towards Hoffmans, but didn't get really close. Intima was quite far away from her and was, of course, no match in terms of speed. So I've never had a really close call with leopard and cheetah. I know there was the most recent sighting I can think of in this area was one that was on Arathusa airstrip in 2015. There was Quatile and I think it was a young male cheetah, if I'm not mistaken, on the airstrip. Had a little kind of face off, and nothing really ended up happening there either. Cheetah managed to trot away from Quatile and stay out of the way. And it's generally, the cheetah get caught if they're on a kill more than anything else. If they're not on a kill, then they're generally okay, and they can actually see the leopard coming and get out of the way fast enough. Alice, fairly common. It does happen. It's not obviously every day, and it's certainly not something that happens as regularly as, let's say, leopard hunting and impala. But lions will kill leopards regularly. I mean, we know of many leopards that have been killed by lions. There was actually a leopard that was killed fairly recently by lions down in the south of the reserve. A older female. In fact, she was the mother of Mvula that was killed recently by those lions, which is quite sad. It's obviously always a bit difficult when they get caught, but she was very old, so it does happen like that. And then who else? Tandi's firstborn son has been killed by lions. Many cubs, obviously. Londolozi had a few leopards killed by lions in 2015, 2016. They had a few leopards killed by lions. So yeah, it does happen quite regularly. It's obviously leopards try and stay away of lions as much as possible, but it's always around carcasses. Generally, leopards, if they're feeding, particularly in summer when it's thick, they sometimes can get caught. Also, if it's older individuals or very young and inexperienced ones, sometimes they get caught short as well. So it does happen, and it's probably why leopards are so scared of lions at the best of times. Minamu, the rate that he's eating now, not very long, but he's taken him a fair amount of time. But a warthog is a big animal. There's a lot of meat on a warthog, and it does take a while to get down. And so I would say probably tomorrow he'll be finished. I would imagine he'll still be here. If he doesn't drop it, he'll still be here in the morning. And he'll probably finish this up during the course of tomorrow and maybe into the evening, and then be gone by the following morning. That's what I would suspect. So char, yes, leopards do often drop their kills. We saw Hosanna dropping it. Particularly in orchid trees like this, it happens quite regularly and is a bit of a pain, to be honest. But they do, some leopards more than others, but they learn quite quickly. You find that leopards are pretty capable of learning when to be careful and when not to be, and if they drop, they then start to try and kind of get its position better, but it does happen. Now, Nikki, I wonder if you can go onto the flare for me. So we have our flare set up, and the reason why I want to show you something is it's a very, very cool picture that Seb has managed to get on the flare. Pink spot in the middle of a sea of purple, and he's very, very hot, obviously, and you can see now, unfortunately, our audio is not following over, but we'll get back to it. About and giggling, and so they'll kind of come back into this area, and hopefully we'll be able to get back onto the flare, because I wanted to show you something very cool with Tingana and something that you can't see on the camera. So if you look at him now, you'll see that he's feeding. His face looks absolutely perfect. Now listen, listen. Now I don't know if you can hear the hyenas. Sure, but everybody's running all over the place at the moment, and a bit of competition, I would imagine, between everyone. I think what's just happened is Pretty and Corky have maybe arrived here, and that's why everybody's panicking a little bit, and maybe why Ribbon has run off, because I did see Ribbon come flying past us just now. Very, very cool. Anyway, you can see now quickly while we're here. Hey, no. Now, hold on, guys. I'm just dealing with a hyena that's sniffing my leg. Stop it. Quite literally sniffing my leg. But anyway, we can see on his face, he's got black on his face. Now, on the main camera, you wouldn't have seen anything, but because he's been feeding on a carcass that's so cold, it's obviously warm from the temperature of the day, but his mouth is covered in a bit of blood, and normally we see them grooming, and it doesn't really look like there's much of this on their faces, but actually you can see when he's feeding there that he's got a lot of black around there, and that's why they clean themselves so meticulously after they're fed. Now, are we still on the flare, or are we back onto the normal camera, Nikki? Because I've forgotten now which one we're on. But if we can come back onto the normal camera, because I want to show you a naughty hyena quickly, and I'm not sure which one it is. Now, don't go away. I want you to stay right there. So there's a hyena that's moving away. Now, that hyena right there is being very naughty, because I was busy watching Tingana and we were talking about his face, and all of a sudden I felt this wet nose just touch my side of my leg, and looked down, and there was a hyena had its head inside the footwell of my car. Now, inside here, Seb, I don't know if you can just kind of point downwards, but you'll notice that we've got like a little well here, and there's no door on my right hand side. In fact, let me move like this. And so this little hyena has put its head from that direction inside here and sniffed my leg that is on the pedal, so I'll try to get out the way. So it's basically sniffed right there, and so I had a little cold wet hyena nose, and I looked down and the whole hyena's head was right there, which is not ideal at all. So luckily we dealt with that and the hyena left us, but I'm quite intrigued as to know who exactly it was. Not ideal at all to have hyenas sniffing your feet. It's better than I once had a male lion do it, which was a far scarier thing than that, but at least we survived and I didn't get dragged out the car. That would have been quite awkward if I'd been bitten on the leg. I certainly...
I was going to warn you.
So Seb says he saw it coming and he was going to warn me. Why didn't you warn me, Seb? I didn't even...
I was going to say first there's a hyena by the leg.
So Seb just wanted me to... He was being a typical cameraman. He wanted me to be taken so he could film it. No, he said he was going to warn me, and then I noticed. But I only noticed literally because the hyena actually sniffed my leg. That's the only reason, which is ridiculous. It's been a long time since I've had a hyena sniff on my leg and actually touch me. In fact, I don't think I've ever had that. But anyway... While we contemplate what is going to happen with hyenas and what Tingana is going to get up to, let's send you back across to Taylor McCurdy and see where she is and what she's been doing for the remainder of her afternoon.
Tristan will be banished to the end of the table tonight because he'll smell like a hyena. Anyways, now there are a couple of things actually at the end of that road. Can you see all the way where the trees are? I would like to know from you, what animals do you think those are all the way down there? Now, we're not going to zoom in to show you because we're going to play a little game. Let's see if your eyes have got good. So for those of you that don't know how to comment or ask questions, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is hashtag SafariLive. So create a tweet. You can say whatever you like. Nice things, though. Be nice and ask us questions about what's happening on screen. That is how to get your questions answered. And then at the end, make sure you put hashtag SafariLive if you are using Twitter. If you're on the YouTube chat, just type away. Maybe put a smiley face, but not too many emoticons, otherwise you might get banned. Be careful, you get spam, or you get told that you're spamming. Should we have a little look? One more time. Jeremiah, look carefully. Now, Michelle, you said you think there's elephants. There they are. They're standing there. Surely you can see what those are. By all means. Oh, there's... Tina, you've guessed lions. Our plan is ruined. Because, okay, this is a fail. We were playing the game SafariLive. Remember, we played that the one day. Some of you might remember where basically I was on camera with Craig. Craig was on camera with me, and Kirsten was directing the show. And we came down via tele-access, and Craig said, "There's an owl. Look, Taylor, there's an owl." Like, how dare I miss the owl? So I look towards the tree, and I go, "What owl?" And he goes, "It's there. There's the owl." And he's pointing. He starts zooming into camera. Next minute, Kirsten comes over the radio. She goes, "Right, I'm asking for a link. I see the owl." And I'm going, "What are the two of you talking about? There's what owl in what tree?" Now, Craig's got the camera there. He's gone, "Oh, no, there isn't." And I'm like, "Well, no. They're asking for a link. They're coming to us. Now you'll keep it there." So then that's when we decided to play the game SafariLive. Is there an animal? Isn't there an animal? And we were trying to trick you, but then there was actually a kudu. So those are stumps. You might remember, and small trees. VM and I the other night, about a week ago actually, we were like, "Oh, we were trying to guess. We're like, there's wildebeest, there's waterbuck, there's all sorts of things." There, it wasn't. It's just the trees growing in interesting direction. But there actually was a kudu there. The kudu was not supposed to be a part of it. So kudu ruined it. I was like, oh, man. But anyways, thank you for playing my silly little game. So much fun. We've just been sitting here waiting to show you that. But they do totally look like animals, though. I'm sure you'll agree. Okay. We haven't even got to Mendoza Road yet, but we're still going to, I think, stick to our guns. Everyone is apparently cackling. Thank you, everyone, for cackling. Even if it's a fake laugh. Right. Tristan is still banned from dinner tonight until he has a shower. Let's go and see if the hyena maybe wants to rest its head up on Tristan's leg again.
Well, I hope not. We're not going to repeat that performance. For now, they are a little bit further away, but how cool is this? This little flare, I've missed this camera a lot. I think this would have been quite fun in the forest, to be actually honest. I would have loved to have had it out there, but you can see the hyenas are all around us at the moment, and they've been interacting, they've been sniffing, they've been kind of just checking everything out, they've been greeting each other with their telltale kind of sniffs of the genital area, and it's been quite cool to kind of watch it, and especially in the flare, the way that they just kind of ghost around these little hot spots between the thickets, and that one's on the road. You can actually see how warm the road still is from the day, and then the cold. You can see now this individual is going off now. Is that Corky there? It looks like there's suckle marks there, so I think that's Corky that's maybe going past us. It's got that definite row of spots along the side. Now, I need to remember, I always get confused between all of them, and we kind of have to, you know, be able to recognize them a little bit better than I do. So I need to learn them all, especially now that we have a den in our area. So we'll have to kind of focus on that a little bit more. But Tingana's still up in the tree. There's still a lot of hyenas milling about. So he's actually on the lowest branch. It's quite difficult to see him, but he's pretty much in that little area there. And it's not an easy area to actually see what's going on at all, and so I'm going to try and just figure out if I can find a bit of a better spot to see him. It was so nice just to watch the hyena when they were kind of moving around in the flare that we kind of forgot about Tingana to a degree, and so I'm hoping that we will be able to kind of get him in a bit of a better spot. Let's just try a little bit further forward here, Seb. We might be better off if we go forward. Just gonna slowly go forward here. How's that, Seb? That should be better. Should be a nice gap through there. Yes, we've got a good gap through. It's not ideal. There's a few branches in front, and that's the one problem with infrared, is that it catches all the branches in front of an animal, and so as much as it's fairly clear for me, it's obviously still a bit tricky for Seb. But look at that swollen belly. You can see how stretched it is. And I'm pretty sure he's not coming down just because of how many of these scavengers are below him. So there's at least 5 or 6 that I've seen so far moving about. I'd say 5 probably is how many there are, and that's why he's lying up there. If it was 1 or 2, I think he wouldn't care too much and he'd just plop down onto the floor. But with that many around, he needs to kind of wait for them to disperse a little bit, and then he can go. I can hear one of them is moved very far already. Don't know if you can pick it up. No, it's very far away. So it sounds like that hyena's gone towards Treehouse Dam. So to imagine the others might move off in that direction, and then Tingana will come down and just kind of have a bit of a rest and enjoy himself down at the bottom of the tree. But it's amazing the kind of thickness of the bush and how well we can kind of see him in these thickets. It would have been very tricky without the likes of infrared and flares to be able to actually kind of see him as well as we are at the moment. Amazing tools, isn't it? Pretty incredible to me that we don't have a single light on whatsoever, and yet we are able to. Now, Nikki, I don't know if we're on the flare, but maybe we can go to the flare because it's a very cool image on the flare itself. Not sure if maybe my earpiece has fallen out. Are we on the flare? So maybe my earpiece is pulled out a little bit. There we go. My earpiece is pulled out. Sorry, Nikki. My fault. I didn't hear you. But you can see that dark muzzle that I was talking about from where he's fed. How it looks like he's got a little moustache, doesn't it? It looks like he's a little kind of... Who has a moustache like that? Almost like a ringmaster moustache. You just need to give him a little ring hat and kind of can run the show from up there. But how cool is that? You can see his belly is quite cold, but the inside of his mouth and ears is still very hot. And then that dark muzzle and those kind of lighter eyes. And you can see how much heat is radiating out of the mouth. And that's why they pant like that, is that's causing that moisture on his tongue basically to evaporate. And it will cool it quite quickly and then get rid of all of that hot air and cool the body down a little bit. But it's very, very cool picture. Like I say, it really does look like he's got a bit of a moustache on at the moment. Super cool. Anyway, you can see that the flare is just honestly the most amazing thing. If you compare those two images, it's so much clearer on the flare itself. There's two hyenas that are also coming past. Well, one is about to come past. I'm not sure who it is at the moment that's going to be strolling past. It's fairly active. So there's a lot of them and they're just going back and forth. I'm pretty sure they're going to go and quench their thirst around Treehouse Dam. It looks like one of the boys that just ran past there. Difficult to see. Just in the darkness I can only just see a little bit of what the camera sees, and then there's another one lying down, but that's it. So I think Tingana will probably come down fairly shortly. I don't think he's going to sit up there for too much longer, given that there's, you know, more and more hyenas that are moving away. I think he'll have a chance to actually come down. It's quite eerie with his eyes glowing through the thickets. Good. Well, Tingana will sit up there for now, and we'll see whether or not he comes down. And while we wait for him, let's send you back across to David, who's bumbling, and maybe he'll get a nice surprise on his way home.
Well, I think one of the best things to happen in Djuma the other day was the discovery of the hyena den. And I request my colleagues Tristan, Taylor and all the other guys, we start comparing notes on the behavior of the den, what happens on that den there, and the den that we have been following here of the North Clan of the hyena here. But I may have to stop because we might be coming to a very small herd of elephants. Let's see how close they are to the road. We are definitely on infrared now because of the darkness. How is that, Manu? So let's see what we see, but look at that. Small herd of elephants there. And there's a little calf in between them. Very good, Nicky says, very nice. The final control is so dark. And I always ask myself, what do elephants decide to pick from the ground? And it brings me to the question, how is the eyesight? Or do elephants see pretty well at night? Because what about the possibility of them picking a snake or a frog, you know, from the grass, or crickets? I mean, we know elephants are herbivores, but we can see from there there's a huge amount of grass they're picking. But I also want to believe there could be a possibility of them. We have seen them, you know, pick beetles, and we see when they drop the poo, and if you open it up, you'd be able to see beetles or some types of insects, some of them coming out alive. But today my question is, what about snakes or skinks or frogs? We know back in the village we have seen frogs that will attack our cows, and some of them are very poisonous, have been able to blind our cows. either by spitting on their eyes. Yes, we have seen that, and yeah, Nikki is surprised by that. And back in the village, you know, when we were small, we would be told by our parents, make sure you do not take the cows in this particular grass because they're always habituated by particular frogs, very small red ones, and they always live in water. And if they would jump, they'd very easily, you know, hurt the eyes of the cows, or if they bite them, or whatever poison they would have, not sweet, some kind of poison, but some venom, and they jump on the skin, you'd see that part of the skin of the cows rotting. Or if accidentally they would eat those frogs, those cows will altogether die. So I'm wondering and asking myself, elephants at night, how do they go around avoiding, you know, eating frogs or anything that could hurt them? All right, on the road, glued either for so doctor asking about elephants, and I would say elephants eat so much food and they will not stop, 16-17 hours eating, and I would say they have some good eyesight. That particular small herd, we saw them crossing the road, so definitely they know where they're going. But I would say elephants will see in shades of dark and light, but maybe not colors. Not very sure. I would say they don't see colors, but they'll see something dark and something light. But if it's something moving, they could easily pick up a movement. We have had, you know, lots of human-wildlife conflict with people walking, you know, in the bushes at night, and the following day we hear of stories, someone was hurt by elephants, or this happened, because the elephants tend to see us faster or easier than how we see them, as much as they are bigger than us. Getting a bit cold now. I don't mind a cup of coffee or thinking of dinner. And smelling a lot of cold air, which would mean rain either coming tonight. And we're going to keep chancing whether we see anything on the road as they keep driving, and I think Taylor is doing the same.
That's exactly what we're doing, waiting for anything to kind of pop out. Now, I've been scanning and scanning and scanning with my spotlight, but I've seen nothing, except a couple of daycare here and there. I suppose that's something, and the odd lapwing. Do you know what I would really like to see tonight? I would like to see a spotted thickney, which is a bird, on the middle of the road eating a scorpion. How does that sound? Liam? Would you like to see that? But like a big Osteopacanthus scorpion, like a really big one, not none of these small little olive scorpions and things like that. We need a really big one. So we should be seeing more of that at this time of the year. Well, this actually not quite winter, but spring is quite nice. If you can put up with the wind, that's awesome, because it's not pleasant. But in terms of the sightings and things like that, it's pretty amazing. We're seeing so many honey badger sightings, slender mongoose coming out of our ears. I mean, whenever have you heard of us doing a slender mongoose count? Normally we do that because we're like, we see so many of them. And normally it's for like impala. I think I've done francolins before, crested francolins. But if we see 5 or 6 slender mongoose, it's been a particularly quiet day today. That's like an average now. But that's normally just a quick glimpse of them, but it still counts. So out here we could see porcupine. I know Tristan was talking about that earlier. We could see honey badgers, aardvark even. It's a great area. I'm surprised we haven't seen any white-tailed mongoose yet. They would love this, but they seem to just be hiding away. I actually haven't seen one white-tailed mongoose since I've been back. Maybe we'll have to do our nightly quarantine drive. And that's where the honey badgers and white-tailed mongoose seem to hang around, and also owls. Lots of little pill-spotted owlets. We've even seen the, what are they called again? The southern white-faced scops owls, hey? I mean, that would be a real treat. I'm sure you'll all agree. Bush babies? Maybe. Maybe. Sydney seems to have a lot of luck with bush babies. Who's going to spot the first chameleon of the season? No, Nikki, I'm not going to keep singing. They're mean to me now. They want to catch me doing all sorts of weird things all the time. I sang a song to Louisa Day. It was about Tingana and the hyena. I can't remember what I said, but I made up a song about the two of them today. Nikki says it was very good. Thank you, Nikki. It's very kind of you. Really good for my ego. Or a snake. Where are the snakes at? That would be a lot of fun. How about a python, a rock python, tangled around a tree? So Hosanna still hasn't come back. Maybe he'll be back in the morning. Actually, I have no doubt that Hosanna will be back in the morning. Quadruple checking. I don't know why I've come down this road. I wanted to go check quarantine and I've made a mistake. Now we've got to go the long way around. Might not get to quarantine. Probably not going to get there. I can smell fresh dung. I don't know whose fresh dung that was. Not mine, or Fium's, that's for sure. Anyways, it probably wasn't Tristan's, but he has left Tingana. Let's go see where he's bumbling now.
The youth of today. Taylor McCurdy. She is another story, isn't she? I've actually quite missed being on Drive with Taylor. She does make me laugh quite a bit and often have good banter with Taylor, so it's quite nice that she's back. But anyway, we have left Tingana, and the reason why is he plopped down from his tree and went kind of into the drainage line, and the flare was battling to see him, and obviously infrared was not really helping either. So I thought we'd go past Treehouse Dam to go and see if any of the naughty hyena were swimming around that area, but they weren't. They were not anywhere to be seen, and so now I'm just bumbling about trying to see what else I can find. Maybe we get lucky with one of those many creatures that Taylor McCurdy has mentioned for the evening. She's actually, of all the nocturnal creatures that I want to see out here in the Sabi Sands, she's the only one I know of on SafariLive that has seen one and had gotten it live. So maybe not seen one, but has gotten it live, and she's the only one who's seen a caracal, which is a very special animal, and it's something that I'm still very jealous about. She managed to see one on Cheetah Plains one day. I remember it very well because we were sitting with a couple buffalo bulls, and she on foot, and she then found it. So it was very, very cool, and such an amazing sighting as well. It's the only animal really that occurs in the Sabi Sands that is obviously not small like a bat or a mouse or those kind of things that I actually haven't seen yet. So it's right up there on my list of things that I want to see, and so maybe we'll get lucky with one of those at some point. That'll be nice. The last aardvark I saw was actually on this road, a little bit back from where we are now, but it's the last time I saw an aardvark was here. And maybe we'll get lucky with one of them. That'd be cool as well. That was with you, Nikki Austin. That was with you. That was actually a fun time. We went to go and, just have a social gathering at Gowrie Main Triple M Junction. It's called Function at the Junction. That's what the name of it is. And all the boys and everybody were taking their time, and the girls were ready for once before the boys. And so I thought, well, I might as well jump in with the girls, and I went with Nikki and Jerry and Alicia, and we went bumbling off in Jerry's car, and we came this way to the junction because it's the quickest way and we had permission to do so. And yeah, we bumped into an aardvark on the road, and it sat on the road for a bit and then crossed the road up onto a termite mound and then sat on the mound and actually looked at us. It was quite something really, and very, very cool sighting. Good. Well, that's it for me for the evening. I'm going to head off home, and so in the meantime I'll see you all tomorrow, but let's send you back across to David in the Mara to see what he's up to and if he's got one last thing to show us before he heads home.
Well, folks, it's time to head slowly home because it's getting very dark. But before we do that, I want to stop at a particular place here that we have been seeing some hammerkop building a nest. not any hammock I have seen. The nest was complete like 3 months ago, but I do not know where they went. Right in front of us there, straight on, there were hammocks that built that nest, if you look carefully there. And I thought maybe one of the nights, that's the nest I'm talking about. It was built by hammocks like 4 or 5 months ago. That one belongs to a weaver. But the hammocks, I do not know where they went after they finished building the nest. Anyhow, it's getting dark here and time is against us. We are slowly heading home, and I was trying to imagine if we're lucky we could see a hammock up there after the job was done. None in sight. But anyhow, to all of you, want to thank you very much. Me and Manu from the Mara, we might be saying goodbye and thank you for joining us. We are heading out and we'll see you tomorrow morning from the ever magical Mara Triangle. Bye-bye for now.
Right, it's getting dark in here, so dark, so turn on all your lights. I don't want to turn them on because it's wasting electricity. That's why solar power. Sorry, I just laughed when Nikki said, David said David said it's getting dark in here, and then I couldn't help but do a rendition of, it was Nelly, I think it was Nelly and Snoop Dogg, hey. It's getting hot in here. Anyways, we're going down Buyatela Access, hoping to see the civet that Tristan has seen on so many occasions, but I've never. I think he makes it up. Oh well, what a fantastic day it has been. I'm sure you'll all agree, lions and leopards and a brief sighting of Hosanna. But of course tomorrow is the sunrise safari and all sorts of exciting things could happen. So watch the dam cam, keep us updated, and we will see you bright and early tomorrow morning.